Happy Monday, degenerates. Welcome on back to the Die Hard MMA podcast. We are talking UFC Vegas 106. This week we are headed back to the Apex, and your boy is dragging a little bit today. I am dragging because, oh man, I'm coming off an L, unfortunately. We were just getting stuff on track. We had a double winning week last week with PFL and UFC, and I was feeling good. Maybe a little too good, and just pounding my chest, screaming from the ceilings that Belal was going to defend and get it done. And now I'm sitting here with my tail in between my legs. I had my prediction from the Belal fight week last week, you guys. I uploaded it on TikTok, and it caught fire over on TikTok. You would not believe the amount of Belal hate there is to be had on social media, especially on TikTok, apparently. And I'm getting roasted. I'm getting absolutely dragged today. So, you take your shots, and it's tough being a content creator out here in these streets because you got to sit right in front of the camera and own up to it when you get it on the wrong side. So tough scenes for your boy this week. The whole week, though, my goodness. Okay, you know what? We're not at the recap yet. Give me a minute. Let me welcome in the people. What's going on, everybody? Twist saying, yo, I want some credit for this. Credit is due. Absolutely. Dream in the house. The Grateful Dude. George Ray Pro. C. Dell saying that he hit a 7-legger over 5 units. Beautiful. Congrats, C. Dell. What's going on, Ethan? My guy, Dan Levy from Half the Battle. Appreciate you being here, buddy. Dylan in the house. We've got Aaron. We've got Jaron. We got Dix Insider. We've got Louis Mag Jr., Jermaine Ray Field, first time being here live. That's what's up. Welcome to the show. Rim Dog in the house. How's it going, buddy? KD Kid. Welcome in, everybody. We have got everybody piling in here. So first and foremost, we got a touch on last week's event, right? Give me just a minute. I know you're all excited. Give me just a minute. So yeah, card started off. Couldn't have gone any better. Have I told you guys that I'm your bantamweight king or what? Like, wait, when are you going to give me my flowers? Give me the crown, because I stood in the face of the biggest line movement on the entire card. Everybody and their mother was on Brad Katona. You could not find somebody online that didn't love Brad Katona, the big guy, the #1 bettor at Superbook Sports, the guy that they house their action around, trying to make sure they're on the same side as him. He came in on Brad Katona. That line crashed the entire week long. And what did I do? I doubled down, baby. I said, no. I said, I don't care what these people think. They're not the king of this weight class. They don't know. So I put more money on Bexat. And what does he do? He nukes Brad Katona in the first round. First guy to ever finish Brad Katona. And I told you he was getting the KO. I should have tripled down when that thing hit -130. I couldn't believe how low that line had gotten. So beautiful start to the night. And then, you know what? Daniel Santos and Jong Young Lee, I had an under in that spot. They killed each other in that fight. I could not believe one of those guys didn't go down. So it's one of those bets where it lost, but I kind of don't hate it. Like, I might run that back if they fought again, because both guys were hurt in that fight. There were plenty of opportunities for somebody to get submitted or knocked out in that fight. RIP Bruno Silva. We saw the writing on the wall. Thankfully, the undefeated post-weigh-in show, the tinfoil hat never lies. We got in on Marc-Andre Barrios. The only mistake I made here was in my crazy ass Hail Mary parlay. I used Ion Cutelaba inside the distance instead of Marc-Andre Barrios inside the distance. We could have hit a 50-1, you guys. And the reason I'm making the number bigger is because Marc-Andre Barrios inside the distance was better plus money than Ion Cutelaba inside the distance was. So it would have been an even bigger score if I had just pulled my head out of my ass. I put Marc-Andre in the other parlay. So I had a piece of it, but the one I just needed to that's what I do every single week. I make 2 parlays and I go 2 out of 3 on both of them. So they both lose, but I'm 4 out of 6 on the picks. Like if I could just get the secret sauce and put all the right ones in the right parlay, we'd have ourselves a weekend. Navajo Sterling went life and death with Ivan Ersland. I did the fade the undefeated fighter thing for a unit, and it was 1-1 going into 3. Frankly, we looked good in round 3, and then Ivan just spectacularly low fight IQ. He gets tagged and rocked, and instead of defending, throwing back, shooting a takedown, anything, he starts pumping up the crowd, gets dropped. Like, Ivan, buddy, what are you doing? Keep your hands up. Stay in the fight. Lock the fuck in. Modestas Bukauskas robs Zion Kutalaba. Close fight. It's one of those ones where it was close but clear. So if you want to say there's no robbery in a close fight, all right, okay, we can back it down just a little bit. However, there's no such thing as a 30-27 Modestas Bukauskas. That guy needs to be fired. Like, you cannot score 30-27 for Modestas Bukauskas. Ion Kutalaba 29-28 was the correct scorecard. I will let you get away with 29-28 Modestas. It's wrong, but at least it's close. 30-27, get the fuck out of here. That would have made the night break even if Ion had just gotten his hand raised. If he had won inside the distance like I thought he was going to, we'd have been partying all weekend. Jazz comes out and does the damn thing. She is a truck. Jessica Andrade at 125 continues to be somebody that you can just print money against. She can't hang at 125 pounds, you guys. And she just frankly packs it in. As soon as she gets put on her back, she's like, you know what? I'm good here. I'm done. Mike Malatz. He unfortunately gets it done against Charles Radke. I actually thought the first round went about what I expected it to. And then instead of Radke being the one that turned up, Mike Malat was the one that turned up. So I owe Canada an apology there. Benoit Saint-Denis crushes the can as expected. It was never a matter of if, it was a matter of when gets the submission there, which if you guys looked on the BetMGM exact props, the arm triangle was like plus 500. And that I thought about it. I had way too much action on the rest of the card already anyway. My girl, Natalia Silva, bona fide title contender these days. She went out there and made Alexa Grasso look slow. She looked fantastic. It's going to be real fun to watch her challenge for a title. Shout out Liam Picks Fights, the Ayman Zahabi pick that we called him in for. We hit the phone a friend button on Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, and we got the damn thing done. Contentious fight, questionable scorecards. I thought you could. It was round 1, Aldo. Round 3, Zahabi. Round 2 was the swing round. You guys, personally, I scored it for Jose Aldo. I'll tell you that. As a guy with an Ayman Zahabi ticket, I scored round 2 for Jose Aldo, but it was close enough. I'll say, you could have made an argument for Zahabi. This is one of the first cases of home cooking we've had in like 6 months. Home cooking just isn't a thing anymore. So I was happy to be on the right side of that split decision there on that one. Really kind of saved my night from being brutal. And we were this close. The Zahabi round 3 KO at 25-1. Again, just we were inches away this week, you guys. That one, we'd have been partying. Like, it would have been a great night if he had just gotten the TKO in round 3. Make exhausted ass Jose Aldo stand up. That man was checking the clock 30 seconds into the 3rd round after trying to get the finish. We could have gotten that one, and then it would have been a good night too. Valentina Shevchenko, Manon Fiorot, good fight to dodge. I'm glad I stayed away from this one. Fiorot walked into a big old punch, and it looked like Valentina was going to finish her. Somehow it goes the full 25 minutes anyway. And I thought Fiorot won it. I'll be honest with you guys. I thought Fiorot won it. I know it was boring. She, dragged her up against the cage and used the physicality, all that stuff, slowed her down. Not a fun fight for people to watch at certain points, but I really thought she won 3 of those rounds. I mean, whatever. I didn't have any money on it, so it is what it is. The square side, Valentina goes ahead and comes home. Congrats to you guys for getting on the plus money side. And then I got to talk about the main event for 2 seconds. I had not all my chips in on Belal this week, right? Like, some people asked me if he was going to be an anchor, and I was like, no. I respect Jack Della too much for him to be an anchor, but he would have been the deciding factor for my night to be positive rather than negative. I truly believe that Belal looked past Jack Della, and that's upsetting because, like, when he was walking out, I got real nervous. When they're like putting the grease on his eyebrows and stuff like that, he's like gyrating and hip thrusting. He looked like Michelle Pereira doing his walkout. And I was like, this ain't Belal, man. What are you doing, buddy? Every time I've ever backed Belal, it's been, I know he's going to put his nose down. I know he's going to work his ass off. And I know he's going to come in with the right game plan. I don't want to take anything away from Jack Della. The improvements he made, the game plan that he came with were spectacular. They were perfect. They worked to a T. So all props to Jack Della Maddalena. But I really feel like Belal might have looked past Jack to some extent. And I feel like this fight could have been different if he came in with a slightly different game plan. Unfortunately, he'll never sniff a title shot ever again. They made him go 9 wins before he got the last one. There's no way they're going to circle him back around, especially when you got guys like Shavkat and Ian Gary and Buckley. Like, Belal's days as champion, unfortunately, are done. I thought he was going to defend 2 or 3 times at least, and he's already back down to the bottom of the barrel, sadly. So RIP my parlay. We end up with like a -4 unit night. Unfortunately, the Belal money line parlay would have been a swing of 3 units, so would have profited at least 2.5 units if we had gotten the win there. Unfortunately, it's an L. It is what it is. But I got a lot right. I got a lot right last week. Like, we can hold our head high. We needed 1 or 2 bounces that were close, and we didn't get them. So we just got to keep on trucking. But speaking of keeping on trucking, let's get the podcast on track. I know what you guys are really here for. We have a very, very special guest this week, and I couldn't be more excited than to introduce you to the UFC's own juice box, Julius Walker.
Go get me a juice box.
You know who you're talking to?
I'm talking to the juice box guy.
You're crazy.
I'm not crazy. I'm just thirsty.
Why don't you go to hell?
No, you go to hell. While you're there, why don't you grab me a juice box?
Julius Walker, what's going on, buddy? How you doing?
What is good, my guy? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, man, I'm excited. So, little backstory for the people. I reached out to you. I was super excited about your UFC debut. We bet on you, obviously.
Yep.
And then you were just super cool in the replies. You were active on Twitter, and I gotta shout out my man. I want to say Twist Collects at the top of the chat here was like, man, you need to get him on the podcast because you were kind of, between camps and training. And I was like, what the hell? I'll reach out and see what's up. And the rest is history. Here we are.
Dude, I love it. And I'm shout out to Twist Collects, dude, for getting your boy on.
Yeah, no, I'm excited, man. It worked out well, and I can't wait to talk some fights with you. The chat is super hyped up about it as well. And first off, though, might as well, peel the curtain back a little bit. You got a fight booked, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Fighting Rafael Siqueira, the Brazilian guy. We're fighting in the Apex on August 9th. I believe it's going to be like Delidze versus Fluffy as the main event. I love the matchup. They gave me the Siqueira guy that he shells up after you hit him a couple times. So I figure I just need to go forward, hit him a couple times, and then knock him out.
Absolutely, dude. I love it. That's such a good fight for you to kind of hit the reset button. I know your fight against Alonso, pretty quick turnaround, pretty quick call up, kind of the mid to deep end of the division. So tall order for your start to the UFC run, man. I love that you're getting Siqueira as your second option, because that's a good fight for you to come in and show out.
Yeah, no, it's awesome. I've gotten 2 of the biggest blessings you can get, I think, in the UFC early on. I was the loser in a fight of the night, which is like, I feel like that might be the best. That's like being a backup quarterback. It's incredible. And then I got Rafael Siqueira. I got to fight with Rafael Siqueira. I don't need to start disrespecting him and becoming a trash talker guy, but I don't know. I feel like I can beat this guy. They said, Juice, we like you. Go get a highlight reel. And I was like, okay.
That's exactly, dude. I'm glad you understand the assignment. Obviously, don't want to, underestimate the guy or anything like that. Like Belal did this last week, but go in there and get the damn thing done. You know what I mean? I think that's going to be a good spot for you to go in there and show what you can really do.
Let's go. I'm ready.
It's gonna be great, man. And you did some traveling for training, right?
Mm-hmm. I went out to Factory X. I was out there for almost 3 weeks. It was freaking sweet. Training a lot with Dustin Jacoby out there. I was with Anthony Smith was there for a little bit, but he fought like 2 weeks out. His fight was, I got out there like the last week before UFC Kansas City. And some work with Cody Brundage as well. Neil Magny popped into one of the sparring days. That was cool. But it was sweet, man. Everybody there was super welcoming. for somebody visiting, like the coaches gave me a ton of individual attention.
Cool.
And I picked up a lot in that 3 weeks for sure.
That is great, man. And so, honestly, somebody like Jacoby, I've got nothing but respect for the guy's striking skill set, the way he rounded out as an MMA fighter. That's a great guy to pick up some tips from moving forward, you know?
Oh, for sure. I feel like with the style that I had and the holes in my game, somebody like Dustin in a gym like Factory X is great for like filling in, you know, because let's be real, dude, the footwork of Juice's footwork, the head movement, the striking, you know, these aren't specialties yet. It's a work in progress. You guys get it, chat. You guys get it. I'm working on it. And shout out to Factory X, my boys, for helping me out, man.
That is awesome. Well, we can't wait to see your evolution, man. We know the upside here, obviously, which is why you got the invite. And I'm excited, dude. So real quick, as you know, this is it's a gambling show, so you don't have to, obviously as a UFC fighter, you can't actually bet these, but we appreciate, your opinions and what you're seeing. It's a different lens than most of us, with the experience that you've had and stuff. You'll see things and pick up things maybe that we won't. But just a thought on like, did you have any gambling experience, other sports, or like what got you into doing this kind of thing where we were able to connect and get you on the show here?
So I'm a happily retired gambler.
There you go.
I would say whenever it was probably around the time that I fought in November last year when I was getting ready to fight Bevon Lewis. I was kind of like, man, I feel like I'm gonna knock this. I'm gonna beat this guy. I'm gonna be in the UFC soon. I know they're not allowed to bet. I don't want to be. I'm from Missouri, so I know a million guys that know James Krause. I've been in the same locker room as James Krause many times. I don't want to be the new James Krause. You know what I mean? I don't want to.
Absolutely.
I don't want to be fixing fights and running betting discords. And actually, I mean that would be nice if I could. James Krause said he made more money betting than he did fighting. But I'm a retired gambler. I think one thing that really, really, really did me in on gambling last year was UFC 306. I just called everything wrong. I thought O'Malley was going to dominate that night. I thought Grasso would actually do pretty good. I thought Valentina was past it. I missed like every single thing that entire night. I think I didn't bet that much money. I was a regional fighter. I was broke, but we were pretty bad. But hopefully we're going to turn that around right now.
Yeah, there we go, man. Hey, it's different though too. You see with clear eyes when the money isn't on the line. So exactly. We'll be good to go. We'll be good to go. My guy Dixon in the chat says, tell him we're degenerates. And absolutely, like I start the show with welcome degenerates because that's what we do here. We're just having a damn good time. All right, man, let's get into it. We got some fights to talk about. So everybody do me a favor, hit the like button. If you haven't already, get subscribed. And I put Julius's X, Twitter, whatever you want to call it, in the link in the description below. If you guys aren't following him, make sure you give him a follow, show him some support. We're going to be cheering this guy on in the UFC for years to come. So let's get after it, man. First fight of the night, Luana Pinheiro takes on Tecia, the tiny tornado Pennington. And I love this fight. I absolutely love this fight. So just so you guys know, I checked with Julius and I was like, hey man, is there anybody on this card that like, personally, or like you're cool with? Like, I don't want to offend anybody and like put you in a weird spot. You went on a show and they saw the clip and I said, he's like, no, we're good. Okay, cool. So I'm good to say whatever I feel like saying here. And you guys absolutely know my opinion on Luana Pinheiro. 11-4, 31 years old. She's on a 4-fight losing streak. And I told you guys when she made it to the UFC, she is a quitter. She is a bum. And I hate to say someone who made it to the highest level of MMA with that kind of attitude. But Julius, I've seen it so many times. You go back on the regional scene and you can see moments where she's just mailing it in and she's done. She's ready to go home. And I'll always take an opportunity to talk about her UFC debut when she fought Random Marcos, a woman who has 0 KOs on her MMA record. The woman can't finish anybody. And she takes an up kick from Random Marcos, flops so hard on her back, her boyfriend has to come into the cage and like scoop her up off the floor. They don't stretcher her out. We've seen what happens in a medical emergency in the UFC. We know they can backboard people and get them to a hospital and get them to an ambulance. No. Boyfriend swoops in like Superman and scoops her up off the floor because she got hurt with an up kick. Bro, she was so tired. She was so gassed. You can see the up kick kind of glance off the cheek a little bit. And she goes, Like it's like a half beat where she goes, "Oh, I need to take this." So she's got a bad gas tank. She's extremely dangerous for one round, man. That's kind of her whole thing. She's got decent pop in her punches. She's got decent judo. She's decent as a grappler, decent submissions, etc. All this, right? But it only lasts for about 6 minutes. And if she expends energy in round one, it lasts a whole lot less than that. She's coming off getting her ass whipped by Jillian Robertson, who somehow is the one of the 4 fighters who didn't finish her, and she's real butthurt about that. Quite literally, hashtag protect your butthole. My girl Jillian elbowing her in the asshole the last time they fought. Luana's going to have a 2-inch reach advantage here. She will be about 1 inch taller. Everybody's taller than Tecia, man. And Tecia, half of my absolute favorite lesbian couple. I'm a massive Rocky and Tecia fan ever since those two made it. I'm like the only Rocky Pennington UFC champion fan on planet Earth. I run and operate the fan club. But I love that Ticia's still out here doing it. She snapped the 2-fight losing skid with Carla Esparza, and her 2-fight losing skid was split decisions against Ricci and Dern. I mean, she's got nothing to be ashamed of in her last 3 fights. Those are tough women and hard fights, and she's in every single one of her fights. And the Tiny Tornado nickname is just perfect for her. She never stops moving. She never stops doing something. She'll come forward. She'll attack the legs. She'll attack the body. She'll blitz in. This is a fight that I think Luana, with her back up against the wall, man, might just find an exit. And Tecia has never finished anybody. Like, she does only ever go to decision in the UFC. I would not be shocked if she just hits her if she hits Luana in the face with one of those nuclear fists and drops her, and we just call it a wrap. You know what I mean? I could see her being like, okay, 4-fight losing streak, finished a couple times. Now I'm getting dropped by Tecia. You know, get me out of here. I know the number sounds crazy, but I see Tecia just dominating her over the course of the fight, man. I know you mentioned a couple of lines on this card that you thought were a bit crazy. Tecia is currently like a -455 favorite or something like that in this spot. What do you make of this first one, man?
Yeah, so when I first looked at Luana Pinheiro, I looked at her resume in the UFC, and I was just thoroughly unimpressed. She's been beaten by most everybody. One of the wins that she had was a DQ, and I was like, dude, this chick seems like she's not really UFC level. And you get that with the UFC women's division. Sometimes you get that with every UFC division, because sometimes you can't figure things out. But she just does not quite seem UFC level, so they're ready to get rid of her. Tecia is an OG of women's MMA. She's been around, since literally like the friggin' probably before there were even women fighting in the UFC. She's been around forever. She's been around the whole evolution of the game. She's seen the evolution of the game, like them legalizing 12-6 elbows and Julian Robertson attacking the butthole on Luana Pinheiro. I loved that shout. But 100%, dude, Tecia wins this fight. She's had, if you count her Ultimate Fighter fights, she's had 27 pro fights, I believe, or 24 pro fights. 22 of them have gone to decision. Like but hey, dude, maybe Luana Pinheiro can get Tecia her 3rd finish. I'd love to see that.
I would love it, dude. This is one of those ones where I'm just gonna be sprinkling round 3, because it can't come before round 3. Someone like Angie Hill with those lanky ass arms, she caught her in a choke. I could see something like that happening, but the way Tecia fights, she's just never gonna go for that finish unless Luana kind of gives it to her. So I think she's just gonna have to really make her quit. So it's gonna be round 3 or decision, but I might have to sprinkle that round 3. Those props aren't out yet, so I can't quote that number, but it better be something ridiculous considering Tecia never finishes. And hopefully this is a spot kind of like Silva last week, where her decision prop was -160. If you could get -150, -160, something like that on Tecia by decision, I think that'd be just a beautiful prop to play. And like I said, sprinkle that round 3 to kind of cover it if she does get a finish.
Exactly. And just hammer that. One thing I will say is what you said about Luana's gas tank. She's probably going to come out, especially her back's against the wall, and throw everything out there, and maybe she can gas even earlier.
That's a good point. Fighting for her career, basically, in this fight. I would not be shocked if she started faster than normal, and that cost her in the end. That's a good point. All right, so we're both on the favorite here to start the night, man. Let's move it along. Second fight on the board. We've got Hyun Sung Park, and he's taking on Carlos Hernandez. My Lord. Julius, I swear, somebody in the Yakuza is taking a hit out on Carlos Hernandez. Have you seen this guy's run in the UFC? He's 31 years old, like he's in the prime of his life, and he had to fight Tatsuro Taira, Ray Tasuria, Narmanjargo Tumundimbarel. Yes, that's hard to say. And now he's fighting Hyun Park. Like, he's only fighting guys that are from Asia. He's only fighting road to UFC guys. And he barely squeaked a split decision over Tumundimbarel. The UFC is like, no, you will lose to our Asian prospects. You're here for a job. Get your ass back in the cage. Like, that's all they want to do with this guy. And the problem is, I see the vision. Like, I get it. Carlos Hernandez is a great scrappler. He's a decent striker, but he's a little low volume. Like, he's not quite aggressive enough. The big knock on him that I always try to point out to people is he's not physical enough. A lot of these Asian prospects, especially when they first transition over, they don't have the wrestling that we do. They don't have like the weight lifting programs that we do. They just tend to be a little weaker than like, especially American fighters. And so you've got this skinny little Mexican kid that they're like, okay, like the Asians can keep up with this skinny little Mexican kid. Now, I know he's from the United States, but heritage wise, like they're trying to find somebody that they can hang with physically. And that's always Carlos Hernandez's issue. He has an amazing gas tank. He will make you work. He will make you scramble. He'll refuse to accept the position. And if you slow down, you're in trouble. The Ray Tasuria fight, man, I was holding my breath because I wanted to live bet him that night. You could see Ray starting to gas. And in round 3, all of a sudden, that became Carlos Hernandez's fight. It was starting to shift. And I was like, oh, he might blow everybody's parlays tonight, getting a round 3 TKO or something. But Ray was too slick. He held it together. He got it done. It was close. It was scary, but he got the win that he needed to win. Tumundimbarel was not quite fortunate enough to get that, so he was a victim. And in this spot, I just think that Hyun Park is probably a good enough grappler to be able to get this win here, but I will never, ever, ever trust these guys at this type of a favorite price tag unless they've proven themselves. It's decent, right? He's a minus 150 favorite. You can get plus 125 on Carlos Hernandez as the underdog in this spot. And Hyun Park is really aggressive. He swings hard. He's got big leg kicks. He cuts off the cage really well. I just think the power and the strength is probably going to be the difference maker in this fight. So, like, if Carlos Hernandez lands 3 punches and he lands one big hook, the one big hook is probably going to get the crowd oohing and awing, and he might get the nod for that. And he probably will be the guy who finds top position, being the stronger wrestler. The only other thing I want to mention, though, is in 2025, we've seen an unprecedented trend of undefeated fighters losing their O. So just one more reason not to lay chalk. I know, man. You're a victim. You're a victim of 2025. I don't know what's in the water, but it's a thing. And Firstland wasn't a freaking idiot. He could have taken the O of what's his biscuit last weekend too. So like there was a lot of opportunity. These guys are coming in hyped up and they're not quite ready yet, it seems, for the level they're getting introduced into the UFC. So live dog for Carlos Hernandez, but I think it's a live betting spot, man. Watch the first round, see how it goes. Maybe if you see Park starting to slow down, if you see Hernandez doing his classic thing where he starts to work his way into the fight, jump in live at even money. You know what I mean? I think that's how I'm going to play it.
Yeah, Carlos Hernandez, for one, incredible scrambler, like you said. I remember watching that Tecia fight and him being able to avoid getting finished and getting just beaten up in that fight was pretty impressive. But I feel like he plays way too much jiu-jitsu, and it makes him be on the bottom too much. I feel like at some point in MMA, you have to just separate and stand up. But then the big shot, like he's got that incredible cardio, and then just looking at how Park looks, to me he looks like a guy who may gas. You know what I mean? The way that he's built with his muscles, the way it looks like he cuts weight. Those guys with the super low body fats with super high muscle, like they're built to gas out whenever they cut a lot of weight. And Park's got a decent layoff here too. You know what I mean? I think he hasn't fought since 2023, if I'm not mistaken. But I don't know if Carlos can weather the storm. I feel like Park's going to hit him really hard. And I do agree. It could be like a jump in live situation,
Yeah, man. I think honestly, the layoff for a younger kid like that, it almost seems like a positive to me. So I feel
Hmm.
like the UFC is maybe they've learned their lesson. They've gotten too many guys get their O's taken that they're like, all right, like let's make sure we give him a good fight. Let's make sure we give him enough time. So it's all on him to get the win. I really feel like this is Park's fight to lose, but I can't
Hmm.
trust these guys, man. I will never bet the road to UFC dudes at chalk price tags. At least not until they've shown me they can level up a little bit.
Exactly.
Yeah. And shout out my guy Dan in the chat saying, unless your name is Malcolm Wellmaker, that's right. He's one of the few that's immune to the O being taken. But Blood and Beer pointing out there's 3 undefeated guys on this card, and some of them are bound to lose. And you could not be more right. I think we've got a couple more to talk about. And I do have to apologize. I got to shout out my guy Old E with the $5 donation saying, smash the like, you dogs. And thank you very much for the donation, Old E. Appreciate you. And everybody else in the chat, make sure you are following his advice. Go ahead and smash that like button for me. Next fight up, we've got Denise Gomes taking on Elise Reed, another amazing women's MMA fight, another massive favorite. And Julius, I know, again, I'm just going to repeat it. I know you can't gamble. I know because you're in the UFC. It's not allowed. But Denise Gomes is the originator of just the #1 most profitable trend ever discovered in MMA. It was discovered by myself, and my chat know the secret. But the #1 most profitable betting trend in women's MMA is backing Brazilian lesbians with neck tattoos.
Dude.
It's the perfect combination. They are stronger than the other girls, and they are meaner than the other girls. The neck tattoo lets you know they're tougher than the other girls, and they've usually got a violent streak in them that most women's MMA fighters don't have. So if you can spot yourself a good Brazilian lesbian with a neck tattoo, and they got to check all the boxes. If they're Brazilian, but they're not a lesbian, and they've got a neck tattoo, you're not quite there yet. You got to have all the boxes, but that's Denise Gomes, and that's why she's a -500 favorite coming in this spot against Elise Reed. You guys know I'm a fan of Elise Reed. I want no disrespect for Elise Reed. She's one of those underappreciated fighters. She's better than people give her credit for. She is solid on the feet. She's got a nice stiff jab. She is quick. She's fast. I love her striking. The giant Achilles heel, Julius, she doesn't know how to defend takedowns. She's not a good jiu-jitsu player, really, but she'll attack chokes. She'll strike. She'll try to land damaging shots instead of fishing for underhooks, instead of widening her base out, instead of finding the cage. She'll do all these things to attack in her not optimal form of aggression, and then she ends up going down. So she'll end up on her back against people who are just far better grapplers than her. Now, I will say in her last fight against Jessica Benet, Elise Reed showed that she's been working on it. She showed improved balance. She showed some better footwork. She was able to scramble a little bit better, but she's 32. She's towards the end of her prime, right? She got a big step down in competition. Jessica Benet, a 40-year-old vet, someone who's probably going to be done sooner than later, and also not a very good wrestler, a very good jiu-jitsu player, but she really was just riding the body lock on this girl, trying to drag her to the mat and be physical and get her to the ground, and that's not going to work. You look at the other fighters that she's been in there with, though, Lupi Godinez and Loma Lukbunmi, my girl, Sam Hughes, Sam Page herself, they all finished her. If you've got any type of physicality, if you've got any type of actual wrestling ability, and especially if you know what you're doing with your ground and pound, you're going to get Elise Reed to the mat, and it's just a free payday to pound her through the canvas. Denise Gomes has that more than any other opponent she has yet to face. Now, Loma Lukbunmi might be better with like the trips, the dumps, all that kind of stuff. But in raw power terms, Denise Gomes is by far the most physical, strongest, hardest hitter that Elise Reed has fought in the UFC so far, in my opinion. And she just got done beating Karolina Kowalkiewicz. I don't know how to say her last name right. She beat KK over 15 minutes. She won a decision. I thought Denise Gomes was going to knock KK out. I put too much money on the knockout prop because I fully expected her to just make Karolina quit. But Denise Gomes showed a level up that night, Julius. She actually was more, not tentative, she was more measured with her striking. Every single punch wasn't 80%, 90% power looking for the finish. She actually went out there and technically defeated someone with way more experience than her. Her game plans are getting better. Her fight IQ is getting better. Now she's got the experience and the neck tattoo to go with the angle. this is Denise Gomes' season, man. I think she's going to take this girl down, and I do think she's going to TKO Elise Reed here. And I wouldn't be shocked if it was early. Round 1, round 2. Like, I think she's just going to hurt her and pound her out.
One thing I found interesting was that Elise Reed beat Jazzy Jazudavicius on the regional scene. I thought that was a wild thing. Look at where their careers have gone. And then, like you said, I'm pretty sure Elise has been finished in all 4 of her losses. I'm not sure if that's right. And I think Denise's last decision win was her first decision win. She had all finishes prior to that. So it just sounds,
she has 4 finishes total, but I think it was her first UFC decision. Oh no, actually. Okay, we're not counting Contender Series. Rayane dos Santos does not count. It was her first UFC decision.
Boom. So, I definitely see that the same way, Denise inside the distance. And then, like, as she just fought KK, like you said, Kovalevich, and that girl was she was a striker for years, if I'm not mistaken, before she was fighting in the UFC. You know what I mean? She's been a striker. Shout out to that comment. She's been a striker.
That's my guy D in the chat right there.
Oh Lord. Oh yeah, like right when your parents walk in and you're watching the UFC, that's what comes on.
Absolutely, they always go north south. As soon as you're like, "All right, bro, watch." No, never mind.
Donzel Mays throws the hip strikes, man. Oh, good Lord.
That's one of my favorite clips of all time.
Incredible stuff. But like, dude, like I just don't see if Karolina Kovalevich couldn't get her striking going and couldn't overcome the pure physicality and meanness and scariness of the Brazilian necktie lesbian Denise Gomes, I don't think Elise Reed's going to be able to do it. And man, I love this shout on Brazilian necktie lesbian women. They really are terrifying and honestly intriguing, interesting. There's something fun about them. I've got one tattoo, and I was tapping after like 2 seconds of them, or actually I have 2, putting it on my thigh, dude. I don't know how these women get it on their neck. They're just built different.
Yeah. And you know what, dude? That's one of those things where it's comedy, right? Like, I'm trying to have a laugh, trying to have fun, but at the same time, I'm serious, because you've got to be a special kind of psycho to get a neck tattoo. I don't know people who go through that and come out smiling on the other side or asking for more, because I've always wanted to get a tattoo. I'm one of those weird people where I've wanted to get a tattoo my whole life. And then I was like, okay, like I'll sit on it because it's going to be on my body forever, right? I want to make sure it's something that I'm okay with being on my body. And by the time I sit on it for a little while, it just kind of fades out. And I eventually am like, I guess I don't really need to get that. And so now here I am 38 years old and I'm like, I guess I'm just not getting a tattoo then. Because like I've never found the thing that I had to have, and thank God, because all the tattoos I wanted when I was younger were just the most obnoxious bro level tribal arm tattoos and shit that you've ever wanted. I would never be able to take my shirt off in public ever again. Like discounting the fact that I'm fat, I would not survive the embarrassment of having the 2015 tribal arm tattoos and having to explain that to people walking around in public. So take your time with your tattoo decisions, people.
1000%.
It's a life choice. All right. We're both in agreement here. And frankly, you guys, I missed the boat last week on Jazudavicius being anchor worthy. Denise Gomes is anchor worthy this week. I got to think about it, but we might be anchoring Denise Gomes. Julius, I don't know if you know my anchor parlay system. Mm-hmm. High risk, high reward. It is probably not smart. But if you can find the one person on the card that you just can guarantee is not losing their fight, and you use them as like a 2-leg parlay with everybody else that you like on the board, all the other numbers are a whole lot better as long as your one anchor wins. If your anchor wins, everything else looks good. But your whole night is sunk because everything is tied to that anchor if they lose. So you've got to be like 1,000% certain. I'm pretty sure we might be able to pull that off with Gomes here this week. I've got a hard time seeing Elise Reed come out here and win. As long as Gomes doesn't have like some weird kickboxing idea with her, if she grapples, she wins, period.
100%. And hey, I've been tuned into the anchor strategy, and correct me if I'm wrong, but dude, you're pretty efficient with it. You know,
we are 7-1.
Yeah,
7-1.
There's only been one loss ever, if I'm not. So it's like, come on, man. The You know, if Clint thinks that it's time to anchor something, you guys just need to listen.
I appreciate the vote of confidence. And yeah, man, the one that cost me was a heartbreaker because I am the biggest Benoit Saint-Denis truther around. And it
Yeah.
was the night he fought Renato Moicano.
Ooh.
And Moicano gassed himself out trying to get the finish in round one. That's one of those ones where, in hindsight, I still don't think I was wrong because with both eyes swollen shut, Benoit was kicking his ass in round two. And they only stopped it because the doctor said he couldn't see. He was on his way to punching his way back into that fight if they let it continue. And in an alternate world, if he just comes out a little quicker to start and defends one of those takedowns or something, like he coasts. You know what I mean? So unlucky, you know, props to Moicano for getting it done. But like looking back on it, that one stinks. That one hurts a little.
1000%. He loves that body kick too much. Moicano was ready.
Way too much. Yeah, Moicano just had a good game plan for him, man. Tough when that happens. It's like Alessa Grasso and the back take on Shevchenko. Like, if they figure you out for one night, you get your hand raised. That's how it goes.
Exactly.
All right, guys. Let's keep it rolling. Next up, we've got Luana Santos, and she takes on Tainara Lisboa. That's a name I have not heard in a long time. I completely forgot about Tainara Lisboa, man. We actually went to war with Tainara and cast a nice underdog ticket with her in her last fight. And I'm surprised that, I'm sorry, not her last fight, her first fight, I think, in the UFC against Jessica Rose Clark. I got her at plus money. Her last fight, she was a massive favorite and actually surprised me with how good she looked in that fight. She's a little older. She's 34 years old. She is Brazilian. She's not a lesbian, and she does not have a neck tattoo. So there is no angle to be had here on this one, unfortunately. But she's coming off of a really long layoff, man. It's been like 2 years since she's fought. And I kind of checked out her social media and stuff, and she apparently did something to her leg. She made this big old post about she thought that she was going to have to retire from it. I don't know exactly what the procedure was or what happened, but the pictures were like, I'm not an expert, right? But it looked almost like something got infected. You know what I mean? Like the way her leg was kind of patched up and stuff. It looked like she had an operation and then there were complications from that operation. But so it's been a long road for her to way back here. And I really respect what she can do. She's got that never say die attitude. She refuses to quit on herself. She'll always come forward. She's got a well-rounded game. She's got a really nice jab. She's got effective striking. It's a little on the unpolished side, but like I mentioned, if she just refuses to fuck off, you know, you still can win with that kind of striking skill set. She's tough as nails. She'll be 1 inch taller here in this spot. She's 2-0 so far in the UFC. And Luana Santos, her opponent, is 8-2. 3-1. She's training over at Syndicate MMA. She's the younger of the two fighters. You know, obviously you'd think that UFC would be thinking of her more as the A side. She's pretty. She's 25. Like, this is the kind of person you want to get behind. We did fade her successfully with an underdog of the night pick when she fought Casey O'Neill in her last fight, and she hasn't fought since, which that, you know, it wasn't that long ago, I guess. So I can't say it's been a long layoff for her or anything like that, but I'm still not entirely sure what to make of Luana Santos, because her UFC debut is a fluke KO over Juliana Miller. Juliana Miller was sick as a dog that night, pale, eyes sunken. Something was wrong with her. So she gets a KO and everyone thinks that she's the shit. Then she misses weight and somehow manages to beat Stephanie Egger. I lost money that night because I thought she was going to get armbarred by Stephanie Egger on the mat, but she was too big, too heavy. She just kind of bullied her around the cage. So that's not really a legitimate win either. And then she nukes Mayra Agapova, who is now losing in like regional bare knuckle fights after her injury and training situation. She's a tattoo artist these days, by the way. So she should bring it back around to the tattoo conversation. Shout out Mayra Agapova. But those are her 3 wins. And then she loses to Casey O'Neill, somebody who also has been kind of up and down a little bit here in the UFC. So it's like, man, like, how legit are you really? Because you've got three terrible looking wins in hindsight, and then you lose to your first piece of legitimate competition. Now she's fighting a 34-year-old tough as nails Brazilian who has this comeback underdog story that she's looking to bring around. And it's a very competitive number. Luana Santos is minus 150. You can get plus 125 on Tainara Lisboa. And I am really tempted here, Julius. I'm really tempted to go back to war with Tainara Lisboa because I've seen Luana Santos struggle. I've seen her not like to get hit. I've seen her, she throws judo throws and stuff like that, but she exposes her back. And that's something we've seen Tainara Lisboa come out and take full advantage of, taking people to the ground, making them carry her weight. Luana Santos has really herky-jerky stand-up with zero power. That Miller KO is so misleading for people. They think she's got power. I promise you guys, she doesn't. She's not going to be able to knock out someone like Tainara Lisboa. So it just comes down to me is how healthy is Lisboa coming back here? Because if she comes back healthy, I think she should be the favorite here. And so I'm really tempted to go there. But I don't know if she's 100% or if this is the UFC calling and going, hey, keep your contract type of situation. Get in there. Rushing her back to get Luana Santos back on a win. So I got to hear your thoughts here, man. I know I went kind of a deep dive tinfoil hat here on this one, but I'm really tempted on Tainara Lisboa this week.
Yeah, so Lisboa, for one, I think she's bigger than Luana is. If I look, Luana's coming up from 25 for this. And then oddly enough, I think she has the one fight at 35 where she missed weight, but Luana's coming up from 25. I think Tainara is a bigger woman.
Point.
And I also think that Tainara in general is just a much crisper and cleaner striker. I was scrolling Tainara's Tapology. She fought Valentina Shevchenko in 2010. Okay, in Muay Thai. Luana is 25, which is the same age as me. In 2010, I was 11 years. I turned 11 years old. So Tainara was fighting Valentina Shevchenko. Luana was in 5th grade. You know what I mean? I think that Tainara is a little bit bigger and is a much better striker. And then even if Luana is a better grappler, which I'm not even 100% sure she is, I don't know if she's going to have like the physicality to really get this girl down. And hold her there. And then I just feel like Tainara is just a lot better of a striker. Luana doesn't really have any defensive responsibilities whenever she throws. She just kind of goes in and throws. And I feel like Tainara is actually pretty clean with it. So that is actually, when I was making my pick, I picked Lisboa here.
Dude, you know what? I totally missed that she was coming up a weight class. And that's a huge factor because coming up, you're right. Tainara is still going to be larger than her. According to the UFC numbers, at least, she's going to have a 1-inch height advantage in this spot. So she's already naturally more at home at 135 pounds. So you got to wonder, is her cardio going to be any better coming up a weight class, or will it backfire and like she doesn't have to do like the road work? You know what I mean? She doesn't have to run to stay in shape. If she thinks, I got 10 extra pounds, maybe the cardio is even worse coming up a weight class. Sometimes that doesn't go the way you think it's going to. So great call. I totally missed that, and I was already leaning that way. Julius, we're going to go Link Memorial Dog of the Week. Tainara Lisboa is going to be our underdog of the week this week, you guys. I have no action locked in for UFC Vegas 106 at this point. I just haven't made a bet yet. That's going to be the first one, man. We're going to go ahead and take the dog shot. We're going to believe in that comeback underdog story with Tainara, and hope she comes back in here and bullies this girl and gets her hand raised one more time.
I love it.
And shout out to my guy, Jonathan Dixon, in the chat. It says, Julius is sharp. Clint always got the best guests. And that's what's up. That's what I do for you guys. That's what I do for you.
Jonathan. You are the friggin' man.
That's what's up.
I also
all right, guys.
agree. I am sharp.
That's true. Very sharp. All right. We got 400 of you guys live in here. Do me a favor, get in the comments if you're not. If you're hanging out on Twitter watching this live over there on X, don't be afraid to come over to YouTube and get subscribed and hang out with us. I do the podcast every single week, multiple shows every single week, and we're making friends with people like UFC's Julius Walker here. So come get you some juice box. Next up, you've got Connor Matheus taking on, Yadier DelValle. I think that's got to be close. These names are tough sometimes, man.
Right.
Yeah. But I love the nickname, the Cuban Problem. That's a good one. But he does check that undefeated box, Julian. He's 8-0, making his UFC debut. 28 years old, and it's his debut off the Contender Series. Now, that's something I'm always a little bit sus about. The people that get signed and brought in off the Contender Series, I feel like they're overhyped coming in off like a big showy win, and everybody saw them on Contender, so everyone believes in the one side, nobody believes in the other side. Usually the line gets a little inflated because of that situation, so I usually look to bet against them in that spot, but not this time. Because Julius, I have another suspect angle that's kind of evolving as we go here. And that's people that are on the Contender Series twice, not because they're a Bo Nickel where the UFC is trying to get them extra fights. Not because there's somebody like a Joe Pyfer that they're looking for the ratings at the end of the season again, or something like that, but because they legitimately like either didn't impress in their first fight or they lost in their first fight, and the UFC brings them back around for a second fight for the Contender Series. Those are the guys who I think are probably going to sink in the UFC, where it's like, if you can't impress Dana White on night number 1 against what is basically a fellow regional fighter, and I know not all opponents are made equally, you know what I mean? But we're like trending and generalizing here. More often than not, I think those guys are going to flare out. And that's Connor Matheus to a T. He's 7-3, 32 years old. He is 0-2 off Contender Series. He's a New England cartel guy. So he comes from a good gym. He's got good training partners. And when you watch him, it's like he checks all the boxes. He's got all the pieces of the puzzle. Decent volume, solid power. He's an okay enough wrestler. He comes forward. He likes to stay in your face, tries to cut the cage off. Decent little pull counter on the guy. I like everything I see about him, but it seems like he just doesn't stand out anywhere. You know what I mean? Like, he's got all the tools, but he doesn't excel at anything enough to be at the UFC level. And he's going to be fighting for his job here with him being 0-2. He's really going to have to come out here and impress. But this kid, Yadier, he seems like the kind of guy that is going to go places in the UFC. He's not training at some crazy notable gym. He runs a food truck with his wife. This guy wakes up, preps food for 2 hours, goes and works out, and then operates the food truck as his day job with his wife. And then he takes his shirt off, and he's a mountain of muscle. This guy is so jacked, it's incredible. So, like, the hard work, he's got to be doing pull-ups in there while, like, the hot dogs are rolling in the back of the food truck, man. I don't know how he does it, but he's training at Gracie Barra. And then he combos that with this place called Main Street Boxing and Muay Thai. I was looking him up on Instagram, and again, just nobody overly notable from those places, right? But he seems like he's getting good work in with the coaches. He chops that lead leg. His leg kicks are brutal. Very physically strong. I mentioned the physique already. He's got fast, accurate hands, and he looks really strong in the body lock position. Good clinch strikes, drags people around the cage from that position. I mean, he almost won in the first round on his Dana White's Contender Series fight. He's got a real tight squeeze on him. He jumped guillotine, and I was shocked. That guy got saved by the bell. He was like panting and heaving after he got out of that choke because it was close. I think that the UFC is putting Yadier up in a spot where he should get the win, right? It's a trending down guy from the Contender Series versus a trending up guy right off the Contender Series. And yeah, I'll buy in. I don't think Yadier is going to be the guy that gets his fraud check in his UFC debut against a guy like Connor Matheus. So I think it's Yadier myself. Now, the number on this one, he's minus 455. That's my only problem. I don't think I'm ready to say he's a 5-1 favorite over a guy who's got a similar level of experience. I think he wins, but I think that number's a little crazy.
Yeah, I'm gonna call him Yachty as a. I'm from Missouri, so St. Louis Cardinals, Yadier Molina. We called him Yachty.
There you go.
But Yachty, he's got a really. I'm actually impressed with his pre-UFC record, especially for like a guy that went regional to Contender Series, because like shout out Ethan Welch, you're the man. I agree as well. But a lot of these guys you see on Contender Series are like 5-0, 6-0, and they fought all cans, or they're like 10-1 and they fought one decent guy that's got like a slightly over 500 record. I looked at Yachty. He fought when he was 3-0. I believe he fought a 7-0. He fought Michael Aswell, who's actually pretty solid. Yachty's fought some relatively decent guys on the regional scene, and also with him being from Cuba, I love that for his nickname he went with the Cuban problem. He learned from Julian Marquez's mistake that the Cuban Missile Crisis is way too wordy, way too many syllables there. Yachty learned from that, and he went the Cuban problem. Great nickname.
Smart.
And here's the thing. Whenever one big advantage I think that foreign fighters have, especially when you're not from like a massive country, is like your whole country's going to get behind you. You know what I mean? I've got Springfield, Missouri behind me, Southwest Missouri behind me, but I don't have the United States of America. There are guys that they get fresh into the UFC, and a big portion of their country is going to be behind them. So Yachty could be a star for them. He could be one of those guys that has Cuba behind him. You know what I mean? It's a fun story. He could be a guy that could actually make them some money. Because if you think about it, most UFC fighters are not worth what they even get paid. a lot of us, we complain about fighter pay, but if you mean to tell me that some of these newer guys on this card would draw $10,000, that's just not true. It's the brand and the power that makes all that money. Yadi is a guy that I think could actually become worth his salt, and that's who the UFC wants to keep around, and that's who they want to build up. I think that's probably what they want to do here. Yadi also has been to decision many, many, many times in his career. He's already fought 15 minutes. Think about how many guys we see come in off Contender that have all finishes. You know what I mean? How many debuts have all finishes? I come in with all finishes. I've never fought more than 9 minutes in my entire career until I fight Alonzo. You realize, oh shit, it's kind of hard. You know what I mean? And Yadi's actually been there. He's done that. So I think he's a little bit safer from the fraud check. But like you said, that line is really freaking wide.
Yeah. And that's unfortunately, man, the bookmakers have gotten smart. When I first started this podcast, it was so easy. You could pick these things off a mile away because they did not know how to line these things. You'd get a fight that was lined a guy minus 150 and they should have been minus 400. It was just so easy to make money doing this. Now they're smart and they're pointing out exactly what you're talking about here. This guy in other, years past, 2-3 years ago, he probably would have made his UFC debut at minus 180. And now they're like, okay, we know everybody knows. We know he's good. We know he's the A side. We know everybody's going to bet on him. So they make you pay this premium price tag. And then when you get a close fight where the judges can manage a split decision the other way, blows everybody's parlays up. So it is tough these days making money in the UFC, especially betting it like this. So I'm glad we're on the same page. We'll agree that Yadi is definitely the side on this one here. And I may look for an inside the distance. He might be able to finish a guy like Connor Matheus. Kind of back to what we were talking about beginning of the show. Back against the wall, 0-2 UFC. You got to come out and probably try to get that finish, right? You're not going to try and run for 15 minutes and save your job. He needs to do something. So we might end up with a banger in this kind of a fight. I
love it.
I like it. Shout out my guy, Uncle Wheezy in the chat. What's going on, buddy? Duck saying New England Cartel, decent gym. Pick one and one only. What do you mean, Duck? Pick one and one only. What do you mean? I'm not. What are we picking? Are you saying the fighter has to pick a gym?
Cartel? Are we picking one fighter from New England Cartel?
Yeah, I see. That's the thing. I don't know. I'm not sure what that comment means because I know one of the fighters we were just talking about him. He trains at 2 gyms. Maybe he's telling him to pick a gym. I don't know. We'll have to figure it out.
I'll pick Cater. I like him.
Okay, if we're picking our favorite cartel guy, I mean, yeah, it's got to be Cater. Got to be Cater. Okay, caught up. All right, good stuff. Thank you all for being here. Like we said before, smash the like button. Let's keep it rolling. Jared Gordon takes on Thiago Moisés. Whoo, baby. Julius, this one's tough for me, man. This one's tough for me because I've had a spotty history with both these guys. Gordon is a guy who I bought the chinny narrative early in his career, right? Yeah. In hindsight, you look at the names of the guys that were flatlining him, and it's like, oh, like maybe he wasn't chinny. Like he just got knocked out by really good dudes. Like Joaquim Silva in round 3. That guy is built like a truck. Diego Ferreira in his prime in 2018. That guy hits like a truck. Charles Oliveira, who ended up being one of the GOATs at lightweight and is a massive threat on the feet. Like, okay, he goes on this tough run getting knocked out by these guys, and I think he's just chinny as all get out. So I bet against Jared Gordon a lot over the course of his career. And I've grown to respect him because he's taken so much of my money that it's like, okay, we're not doing that blindly anymore. And frankly, I think he's been robbed by the judges in his last couple fights. The Nasrat Haqparast split decision, I thought he won that fight. He cleaned Mark Madsen's clock in round 1. This guy doesn't knock people out, and he smoked Mark Madsen early in that fight. The King Green, no contest. Like we'll give him a pass on that one for the headbutt. But the Paddy Pimblett fight, everyone thought they robbed him in that fight. That was an extremely close fight that could have gone his way and derailed Paddy's entire career from that point. So we got to respect what Jared Gordon brings to the table. Now, we do also have to recognize that he is getting a little bit older and up there. So maybe that chinny narrative comes back around at some point. But at 36, he ain't dead yet. I like his boxing. It seems like he's getting more aggressive with his striking recently. He looks good there. The durability seems to check out right now. He can always rely on his wrestling and his grappling. He's very, very good on the mat. And then Thiago Moisés, 19-8. This guy's 30 years old, so he's right smack in the middle of his prime. Feels like he's been around forever. So I'm shocked he's 30 years old. Weird. Right? He seems like a guy that's like 34, 35 because of how long he's been in the UFC, but he was just a young one. He just got here early and he's still hanging around. And now he's part-timing with the Fighting Nerds. So he's been training at Top Team forever. Incredible grappling, great coaching staff, good bodies to work with. And now he's pairing that over with the Fighting Nerds. So he's been with them for a couple of camps. I haven't been overly impressed with Thiago Moisés recently. Man, I kind of feel like he had this really well-rounded game, and then he kind of lost himself a little bit, where he just kind of didn't excel anywhere. Like his whole thing is he was a good boxer, not a ton of power, a good wrestler, not the best wrestler, but he's a BJJ black belt. And that was kind of his thing. If he can beat you up, bully you, take you down, he's submitting people. But then he runs into guys like he went on that short stint where he fought Islam, Yoel Alvarez, Benoit Saint-Denis. Like he's just getting bullied by these guys that really belong at the top of the division. If you give him a step down in competition, he does very, very well. So he's 2-2 in his last 4. Got TKO'd by Saint-Denis, TKO'd Mitch Ramirez for payback, lost a decision to Ludovic Klein, which really kind of surprised me. And then he beats up Trey Ogden. Now, Trey Ogden in his last fight, competitive fight, Trey blew his bicep out in round 2. May have had a little something to do with how that fight ended up playing down the stretch. But I kind of struggle to see Thiago's game working really well here against Jared Gordon. I think Gordon is the stronger wrestler of the two, and Thiago might be the better pure jiu-jitsu guy. Like if you put these guys in a gi, Thiago probably is the one that leaves the room, right? Like we locked him in a room, wait until the sound stops. Thiago's probably the one coming out if we're doing just gi jiu-jitsu. But we're not doing gi jiu-jitsu. We're wrestling in a cage. I think Jared Gordon can survive. And then I think Jared Gordon, you could argue, is the better striker. Like Thiago's got the kicks and stuff like that more, but boxing, I think Gordon's right there with this guy. This is a very close fight in my assumption, and the line reflects that. It's a pick 'em, it's a coin flip. Minus 108 on Jared Gordon, minus 112 on the Thiago Moisés side of things. Man, I don't want to be that guy that keeps betting against the Fighting Nerds and losing money because they're doing amazing things right now. But I think I'm going to back the mangy old dog here. I think I'm going to say Jared Gordon wins this one. He gets one back for his boy Bilal, right?
Yeah. I for one, I 100% agree that Jared Gordon's the better striker here. I feel like, I feel like there's actually a slight difference in I feel like Jared Gordon is a decently better striker than him. Like I feel like there's a decent gap in between them there.
Okay, glad I'm not crazy then, because to my untrained eye, that's what I'm feeling here. So I'm glad you're backing me up there.
No, that's how I feel. Like Thiago throws stuff and he throws hard, but I just feel like Jared Gordon's a lot cleaner. Jared Gordon's boxing is actually pretty nice. And obviously that Patty fight, even though he lost it, has aged well. In my notes here, I said, should we just bet Thiago by a robbery split decision? Because apparently that's what happens to Jared Gordon every time. But here's the thing. If you look at the two guys he lost those greasy split decisions to, it was Patty, who obviously the UFC has been behind from day one, and Nasrat, who is just good at winning greasy split decisions because he also robbed Ribovics. And Ribovics is like my favorite random fighter right now. I could watch him fight just all day. And Ribovics won that fight. I'm still mad about it. So
much on Ribovics that night, man. That was pain. That was pure pain.
Dude, he clearly won that fight. Hurt him so bad in the third round.
Thank you.
God.
Thank you.
But I don't know. I'm not super duper sold on Moisés. I will say, you saying he's 30 absolutely blew my mind. I, for some reason in my head, just had him as an old man. I remember him fighting Bobby Green way back when. That was I had one amateur fight when he fought Bobby Green. I remember watching that. But I don't know. I feel like this is one of those fights when you have two evenly matched guys such as this. I think the biggest thing to look at is who is going to be able to make the fight take place where they're a little bit better. Who's going to be able to make the fight take place where they're the strongest. And I feel like Jared Gordon is going to be able to do that. I think if Moisés were to make this fight take place where he's the strongest, it would be in the grappling. And I don't think that he's a good enough wrestler to force Jared Gordon into the grappling. And I think also with them being pretty evenly matched, when you get two evenly, so like if you have somebody, Khabib, wrestling against somebody that's just a bum, obviously the bum is using more energy than Khabib. But when you have two evenly matched people grappling, especially in a cage fight, whoever's trying to do the takedown is using way more energy. Like whenever I'm trying to take down Alonzo the whole time, I'm using so much energy because he's stopping my takedown. You know what I mean? And if you're trying and Alonzo's not using that much energy, stuffing that takedown. And I think Jared is a smart enough fighter to where, like, when Thiago does try to take him down, I think he's going to be able to use his energy efficiently and stop those takedowns. And I just don't see Thiago being able to put the fight where he needs it for him to win. So I would take Jared. I feel like this fight does go to decision because it is it's very evenly matched. Like these are two guys. This is good matchmaking. These are two guys who should be fighting one another. And I do think that I think that Jared Gordon gets it done.
I like it. I'm glad you're agreeing with me there on the assessment, man. Let's go team Jared Gordon. I got to ask, dude, just quick tangent because we were on it. What does Alonzo feel like? Because looking at him, like just on TV, he's got those elephant tree trunk legs. Like, how did that feel trying to move that guy?
So, like, it's interesting. Whenever that fight started, I immediately tied up with him. And it was relatively easy to push him to the cage itself and hold him on the cage. Like throughout the fight, it wasn't super hard whenever I would grab him to get into the cage and hold him there. So I felt like that. I think that happening at the beginning of the fight, it gave me this thought in my head, like, I'm stronger than him. I'm just going to grab him and take him down and do what I've been doing to these regional guys. I guess I'm just super duper strong and I can just grab everybody and take everybody down and finish them all in one round. You know what I mean? And I think that, like, one thing that blew my mind was, like, dude, he was stuffing double legs on me where I was getting my hands together. He wasn't even pushing my head down. He was just getting an underhook and pulling me up. And I was like, dude, this is crap. Like, that's not real. You're cheating, man. Like, you shouldn't even be able to do that to me. You know what I mean? And my biggest regret from that fight is I rocked him in round one. You know what I mean? I throw that elbow over the top and I won two.
Oh, dude, I thought it was over. I thought it was over.
Dude, I think if I don't shoot, I think that fight's over. I think if I stay on the feet and I punch him, the fight I can finish him right then and there. But I shoot and he recovers. So that's my biggest regret from that fight. That dude's he was a cool guy though, and he's a beast. But man,
he seems like a nice dude. He seems like a nice dude. But man, I'll be honest with you. One of the biggest critiques that we as, like, especially gamblers have with fighters is when they rock somebody and then they shoot.
Yeah.
And that's like number one every time. What the fuck are you doing? Like, just follow up with 2 or 3 more shots instead, right?
Yeah.
Like that's what we think from the sideline, right? But with you, I was just like, this is the beginning of the end. Yeah, because the way you pound people on the mat, the way you ground and pound people, I knew. I was like, he's gonna get this takedown, and Alonzo's never standing up ever again. So I actually, in your case, I loved it. And then what you're talking about, every time you got your hands together, I was losing my shit because I was like, here we go. Alonzo's going down, and this is it. He's tired. It's over. Oh shit! How did he stand up? Like, it was every single time. I was like, what the hell, man? So I am so impressed with your ability to hang in there, because with how exhausted you guys were at the end of the fight, and then I'm sure he hits like an absolute truck. So I was afraid you were going to get knocked out towards the end of that fight. With you being on short notice, I was like, he's going to cardio death gas and then take a shot he shouldn't take or something like that. So all props to you for just surviving at that point, man, because that was an absolute slog at the end of that fight.
Yeah, he was booping me a little bit. I think one thing that saved my life is the fact that we did grab each other and wrestle super hard for 3 minutes and both gas in 3 minutes. So it took a lot of pop off of those punches, because I think if I had just tried to stand and trade with him and he was tagging me like that and he was a little bit more fresh, I don't know, dude. I might still be sleeping in Seattle right now. You know what I mean? Like, that dude, he cracks for sure.
Yeah. The way he's built, I can't imagine that felt good. But anyway, we'll get back to the fights here, Rocco. We got a couple more to go. We've got Matheus Camilo making his UFC debut here against Gabe Gifted Green, the man they call Jaguar. So Gabe Green's an interesting case to me. I can't figure this guy out. He's 11-5. He's 32 years old, and he seems like a guy that should be really good, but he also is one of these guys that just is kind of floating in the middle, right? Okay. I actually bet him against Brian Battle. I thought his relentless wrestling approach was going to work. And instead he runs face first into Brian Battle's right hand. I was like, bro, what are you doing? Like he wasn't even sniffing a takedown. Like he was trying to wing overhands in the pocket against Brian Battle. I was like, somebody call me. Let me write you a game plan. That was not it, dude. And he hasn't fought since. So he's older. He's coming off a horrific first-round KO loss, and it's been a 2-year layoff. This is what I'm scared of. So we're talking about the young kid, the 25-year-old, taking 2 years off. I'm like, there's some development time there. There's some learning. There's some improvements, physically maturing a little bit. Get on your cycle. Like someone like Gabe Green, though, you're getting old. You got cracked so bad, and it took you 2 years to get your head straight to come back. Like, buddy, you ain't developing in that time period. Like age is your enemy in this situation. And now you might be damaged goods because of that kind of a KO loss. So I am very, very hesitant about Gabe Green in this spot, but I do love his relentless forward aggression. I do love the way he wrestles, the way he gets people to the ground. And if you get tired, he will get you out of there. The way he beat Johan Lainez's ass after he got him to the ground, the way he refused to get off of Phil Rowe, a guy who's very dangerous on the ground, just kind of continuing to go back to the takedowns, find his way to top position. Like, I think he's got a bettable skill set, right? But I worry about him here because of the durability. And then his opponent, Matheus Camilo, the Jaguar, is 24 years old, young buck making his UFC debut. And honestly, Julius, these guys that come in here and do not come off of Dana White's Contender Series, they get signed straight out of another organization. And not to, puff my guest up too much, but a guy like yourself, when they spot you and they're like, you don't need to go on Tough. You don't need to go to Dana White's Contender Series. We got a contract for you right here. Come on in, kid. Those are the ones you got to look out for, because those are the ones the UFC is actually just like, no, you're good. We'll take you. We'll take you as is, right? Like, unless they're, calling you up like Danny Gay style on 24 hours notice, right? Like, you guys are the guys that they're looking for. They've got circled. They're welcoming you into the UFC, and that's what this kid is. He is incredibly dangerous, and he's been submitted twice already in his young career, so he is not undefeated. He is not at risk of the 2025 fraud check. He's not going to get his O taken here in this spot. He looks to be exceptionally dangerous from what I've seen on his tape. He trains at Extreme Couture. He's working with my guy Patchy Mix. I've made no bones about it. I think Patchy Mix is the best 135-pounder on the planet. I wish they could get him over to the UFC. I want to watch him fight the top 5 here in the UFC so I can prove my hypothesis right. But this guy's got great hips. Like, when people shoot on him, he knows how to sprawl and brawl. He can stuff takedowns. He's also extremely aggressive. If you get him on his back, he does throw up arm bars. He does throw up triangles. And then when he finds out that doesn't work, he knows how to get up too. So it's not like a guy who's going to be a turtle and just get stuck on his back all night. Like, he'll attack you. And if he realizes, hey, I'm not going to catch this guy, then he'll get back up and he goes to work with clinch knees and he just tries to beat you up. I like this kid. I think this is like a buyer be warned, take notes type of spot, because we're not exactly sure of what he is, but I'm pretty sure this kid is being brought in here to look good, and he's going to beat Gabe Green's ass. He's a minus 225 favorite. Gabe Green is plus 185. And I could hear arguments for the experience of Gabe Green and stuff like that, but I think this kid is legit. I'm going to pick him to win.
Yeah, I think Camilo's very legit too. So interestingly enough, the way that he got in was, you remember when that dude showed up to the press conference and asked Dana White to let him fight in the UFC, and he was like, "I'm 7-0 lightweight, fight the UFC." That Camilo fought him on Zombie Fight Night.
Okay.
Matheus Camilo beat that. He's got a super hard name to say, but he beat that guy that came in and asked.
He beat the call out guy.
Yeah, he beat that guy. And like you said, Camilo, and one of those submission losses for Camilo was a guillotine. You know what I mean? I can't remember what the other one was. So it's not like, if he got guillotined, it's not like somebody took him down, some wrestler took him down and took his back and choked him. he got guillotined. You know what I mean? So I definitely see Camilo. He's strong, athletic, young prospect, 24 years old. They're likely bringing him in to win here. I do see the experience thing for Green. That 2-year layoff is crazy, though. Gabe Green hasn't won a fight since 2022. Last time Gabe Green won a fight, I was an amateur. So there's been fighters that have pro debuted and made it all the way to the UFC since that guy has won a fight. So no disrespect to Gabe Green, but it has been a while since he got a victory, and that's probably not changing. And you know, he's had a few fights in the UFC, so at this point in his contract, he's starting to get paid more. Why not have Camilo come get him out of there, and then we can snag a guy off Contender Series and pay him less and make a little bit more money? Gabe Green ain't drawing nothing.
You're thinking.
That's the thought process, you know what I mean? So let's get Gabe Green out of here, and let's go get 10-10 from Iowa and go put him in.
Absolutely. No, you're thinking like a company man now, Julius. That's what's up. I think that's probably what's happening here. And stealing all the hype from the guy that made the call out. You know they're going to run that on Saturday. That'll be in the hype up to the thing that they'll bring it around that he was the guy that beat that guy. And I think this kid's legit. So I'm glad we're agreeing on that one. That probably is the way it goes. And yeah, let's go Jaguar. Let's get a win here in the UFC. Real quick, you guys got a shout out Spectation Sports. You guys know what's up. Spectation Sports is expanding the banner in MMA. They are taking over the regional scene. The amount of shows that they have now is absolutely insane. They've got Ignite fights coming up this week. They've also got AFP. They've got a double header on Saturday. Not going to say going head to head with the UFC, obviously, but I got to tell you guys, I dual screen every single week now, watching these regional shows and then watching the UFC as they go. There's a lot of names that you're going to recognize on these fight cards, you know, either former UFC, PFL, Bellator guys that are kind of on the downslide towards the end of their career, trying to work their way back to the UFC. A lot of them are being signed by these organizations. And then you've got guys like Austin Bashi that are coming from these places that are on Dana White's Contender Series that are making it to the UFC. So it's a great tape study tool if you're a gambler, if you're a degenerate and you just want to bet on more MMA fights. If you're just an MMA fan and you want to watch more MMA, you guys need to sign up for Spectation Sports. And if you use promo code DIEHARD, you will get 20% off your subscription when you sign up. So make sure you hit that link in the description below, get yourself signed up. And Julius, unless I'm mistaken, didn't you go out to their show just like this past weekend?
Yeah, so our local show here in Springfield, Synergy FC, that's the show that all but one of my pro fights was on. Their first show on, they moved from MMA Futures to Spectation for their last show. So it was their first ever show with Spectation. It was Synergy FC had that this past, it was actually on Friday, I guess. But yeah. I was like the special guest, and I had a little interview on the broadcast. So shout out to Spectation for that.
That is
awesome.
Awesome.
I got to go in the cage and yap. It was a good time.
That's good stuff, man. And hey, so technically, you know, you're kind of a Spectation guy then, though, because if Synergy's under the banner, you know, maybe not when you were the one in the cage, but you know, you're kind of a Spectation athlete. So I'm sure you'll get some rub from them as we go forward here.
Oh yeah, I mean, hey, you know, the way I see it, I'm still the face of Synergy. You know what I mean? Regardless, even though I'm signed to the UFC, I'll still be the face of Synergy. So Team Spectation, baby.
There you go. There you go. No, it's good to have that connection. I mean, you get all the Cage Warriors guys do that and stuff too. You know, it's cool to have the regional shows cheering for their UFC guys and stuff like that. It's good to keep that relationship and that door open for you guys. So that's cool. That's cool that you got to go to the show. They actually just signed Rough, which is a local show here in Arizona. That I'm knocking on the door. I'm like, let's do something. Let's make this happen, because that'd be cool to get involved in the regional scene here in my local area. That'd be real cool. So fingers crossed, you guys. You know, maybe I can work something out.
Manifest it.
Exactly. All right, guys, we got a couple more fights to get to, and we've got 450 of you here live. Again, do us a favor, subscribe, hit the like button if you haven't. Make sure you follow my guy, Julius Walker. You're going to see his beautiful face in the UFC here not too far from now, and we're going to be cashing tickets on my guy as well. So just wait. Next fight up, Julian Juicy J Erosa takes on Costa. Melquizael Costa? I think it's Melquizael Costa. Melky. We just call him Melky.
Yep, Melky.
Dude, This fight's wild to me. So these are both Christian Rodriguez's stepdads fighting for supremacy here on Saturday. Oh, my poor boy C-Rod. I'm the biggest C-Rod believer, and he so does not belong at 145 pounds. He needs to drop his ass back down to 135 to be effective. Julian Erosa is my favorite glass cannon in the UFC, man. 35 years old, and he's just life and death in every single one of his fights. Father Time is coming back around, you guys. We're going to get one back. Julian Erosa is on a 3-fight winning streak, all 3 by finish, all 3 in the first round. The way this guy fights, with the durability that this guy has, it ain't lasting. Congratulations if you've been on the Julian Erosa train. Congratulations, you've made out like a bandit the last couple fights. Buyer be warned. The train is coming to an end because this guy's durability, he is so insanely fragile. Alex Caceres knocks nobody out, Julian. Absolutely nobody. He's got 4 KOs over his entire professional career and just 1 under the UFC banner, and that was Julian Erosa. Like, you can have pillow fists, and as long as you click on this guy's chin, he's just done. He can't take it. And Melky Costa is the biggest thing in the UFC right now. 23 and 7 years old. He's 28. I'm sorry. 23 and 7 is his record. 28 years old. That's how that's supposed to sound. He is from Shoot the Box, so he comes from a good gym. He's training with Charles Oliveira. He's also on a 3-fight win streak. He has a bit of a fraudulent submission win over Andre Fili, which everybody got real weird about. Like I said, he beat my guy Christian Rodriguez. He's just too big for poor C-Rod to handle up here at 145 pounds. But this guy does everything pretty well. He's got a good kicking game, so he kicks well at range. He's got a nasty submission offense. He knows what he's doing on the mat, and he can be sneaky against guys that are very natural grapplers. The thing is, Julian Erosa is so chinny. I think Melky's going to catch him with something, Julius. I really feel like if they're striking, Costa's durable enough to survive some shots. You know, Julian doesn't hit as hard as a guy like Steve Garcia, in my opinion. Maybe it's close. But Steve Garcia is made out of not steel. Yeah, he's not the most durable guy ever, but he can take a couple shots. Julian Erosa can't take a couple shots. Like, I really feel like the UFC put this fight together to get a notable name on the record of a young kid who they want to get behind. I really believe they're looking for an opportunity to get another highlight on a kid like Melky Costa's record. And I really just think this is the spot. I'm going to play Melky Costa by KO in some capacity because I'm sure the sub number is going to be what everybody's flocking towards because he's much better on the ground than he is standing. I'm going to look to fade the chin of Julian Erosa, and it's that simple for me. Melky Costa is a minus 185 favorite. He was a minus 200 a little earlier in the week, so some money has come in on Julian Erosa, and this just feels like bait to me, you guys. This feels like a trap. The bookies are going, hey, you know that guy, that 35-year-old guy that keeps finishing people in round 1? Here's plus 185. Why don't you come bet on that guy? It sounds easy, right? Like, no. This one feels like a trap to me. I think it's Melky Costa season.
Yeah, dude, for one, so I fought Melky. That win over Fili was in Seattle. And so I was on that card with him. I saw Melky throughout the week, and every time I looked at that guy, I was blown away that he fights at 145 pounds. He is a big dude. And every time that we were in the workout room, they've got the little workout rooms for us. Melky used the same workout room as me. And he would be in there kicking the pads, dude. And I was scared. I was like, dude, I don't know if I should stay in here. If this guy gets mad at me, he might be a 145er. But I don't want to get kicked by one of those. You know what I mean? If he gets mad at me, I'm turning around and I'm running out of this room. You know what I mean? I'm going right back up to my floor and I'm hiding in my room. Melky Costa, I think this guy's legit. I definitely think that he will at least be in the rankings by sometime next year. Just with the fighting style he has, I think he's interesting. There's a little bit of an interesting story there behind him too. I love Juicy J though as well. He's got a pretty good nickname. It's not quite Juice Box level, but he is the second best juice related nickname in the UFC.
Yeah,
which is
Julian,
very respectable.
Julius, Juicy J, Juice Box. I mean, there's something there.
You know, we should probably be friends. But here's the thing: I cannot pick him against Costa. You know what I mean? And if we are being real, he is a glass cannon. Everybody knows this. The guy can come out and finish you, and he doesn't even care what we say about his chin, because if he did care what we say about his chin, he would probably fight differently. You know what I mean? So this fight's going to be a banger. It's definitely probably a pretty good shout for fight of the night here. This one's a good shout. The Connor and Yadi fight's a good shout for fight of the night. This one is probably going to be our fight of the night, especially since opening up the main card. But yeah, probably Melky inside the distance, right? Like that's got to be what we're going to see here.
I like it, man. I like it. And my guy Dream in the chat has a mission for you. You need to fly abroad and get some training, because we got to get Juice Box from Shoot Box. That's good.
Dude, I'll have to brush up on my Portuguese.
There you go. Take a translator out there with you. You'll be all right.
Right, perfect.
Shout out to my guy Iceland Farts making it here in the chat. Appreciate you being here. What's going on? Playing for Real says, great show. Love the MMA fighter reads. Great job, Julius. So appreciate you being here. Oh, and Dream dropping some knowledge here. Gabe Green apparently had a bruised heart. That is wild. That's crazy. And that's, dude, okay, so here's the thing. I'm a little conflicted because I like to think of myself as a nice guy. I'm a fan of you guys as fighters. I don't want anybody to be hurt, but at the same time, this is MMA. Like, people are getting knocked out. You know, so you cheer for the guys that win via violence, right? Like, that's part of the game. So we toe the line a little bit. And that's where, like, last week, I had a bit of a tough time because Bruno Silva should never have been in the cage. Like, articles are coming out about him being depressed, about him not having it anymore. Alex Pereira got him the hookup for one more fight. Like, he never should have been signed. Nobody should have sanctioned him to get in the cage. But Marc-Andre Barrios was minus 165. So did I bet that? Fuck yes, I bet that. Like, you know what I mean? It's like, I know this guy doesn't want to be in there. I know he's at the end of his career. I know he's not all the way dialed in. It's easy money to play against this guy right now. So from a gambling perspective, I got to do what I got to do. But I hope he's okay. Obviously, you don't want to see someone being long-term damaged or anything like that. That bruised heart is the kind of thing with Gabe Green that kind of makes you raise an eyebrow. That's the kind of thing that it's like, as a gambler, it's like, well, maybe there's an opportunity here, because I'm not his dad. I'm not the one that has to tell him, buddy, maybe you should hang it up or something like that. If he's getting in the cage, we can bet on it. But you should probably not be fighting if you're dealing with something like a bruised heart. That's terrifying.
Yeah, like, what the hell? A bruised
Safety
heart?
first. Yikes.
Good Lord Almighty.
Yeah, no kidding. Julius, do me a favor. If you ever get in a spot like that, listen to the people telling you something, because you need your brain cells. You need to be able to remember the grandkids' names, all that kind of stuff. Like, fight while you got it. And if anything like that happens, just don't take the "I got one more in me."
No, dude. I'm not going in there with a bruised heart. Like you said, I got 2 kids, man. Soon to be more. I'll probably have double-digit grandchildren. And like you said, remembering double-digit names of grandchildren is going to be tough.
I couldn't do that without CTE.
Oh, God.
I got a terrible memory. Oh, man. That's why I take such good notes. All right, guys. We got like 4 more fights. Let's blow through the rest of this thing here. Next up, we've got Nursulton Ruziboev, and he takes on Dustin Stoltzfus in a fight that you guys know exactly where I'm going. Julius, it is zero secret. Ruziboev. This guy's little brother is so bad. They signed him to do a brother card, and they cut him the same week. His opponent fell out of the fight, and they were like, you know what? Nah, we're good. Like, they're so bad. They literally wouldn't honor a 1-fight contract for this guy's brother when the fight fell apart. That's how bad they are. Ruziboev has a nuclear missile for a right hand. He is so fast. He is tall. He's long. He's skinny. And with that right hand, he can crack, but it's his only weapon standing. And then when he grapples, he's got a Kimura. He's so long. He's so lanky. He ties up that arm. He can use it to roll and reverse and get on top of people. And this guy Kimuras people all the time. But Julius, that shit don't work in the UFC. Okay. I've tried to explain to these gamblers. I'm a blue belt. Okay. Lowest level it gets. I'm fat and out of shape now. I was a blue belt, 5-6 years ago. But I used to love trying to hit Kimuras on people. And at the blue belt level, you can't pull that shit off anymore. Because if you know how to defend it, guys are just too stable, too solid, too strong to let you get that position. Now at heavyweight, when you're like, I can pick you up over my head and throw you 10 feet, even though you weigh 300 pounds. Okay, yeah, you can Kimura a guy. You've got a strength advantage enough to get a guy up at heavyweight, right? But at some of these lower weight classes, you're just not going to do it unless they suck. Like they've got to not know what they're doing on the mat to get Kimura in the UFC. So this guy, Ruziboev, is not going to be Kimuraing BJJ black belt Dustin Stoltzfus. That ain't happening here. So he's got a right hand. Now, Dustin is one of my mangy dogs. I love this guy. He's one of my favorites. He's a little underrated, but he's got all the skill sets. He checks all the boxes. Sketchy cardio. When the fight gets extended, he struggles a little bit. I'll never forget losing both Rodolfo Vieira and Gerald Mearshart back-to-back with round 3 finishes. Man, I bet Dustin in both those fights, and he was up 2 rounds in both of those fights, and then just fell apart in the third against GM3 and Rodolfo Vieira. So he's capped. At a certain point, his skill set is capped. You just got to know what you're working with and what you're dealing with. Unfortunately, Ruziboev is the A side here, guys. For whatever reason, the UFC likes him. He's flashy. He's got a country behind him. He's got a crazy record, even though it's massively fraudulent. So this is the guy they're trying to prop up to win. And Julius, this fight reminds me a lot of the Abus Magomedov fight. When Abus Magomedov got signed by the UFC, I screamed from the hills. I was like, guys, this guy might not be taking a title in the UFC, but he's going to win round 1 knockout over Dustin, because Dustin is not great defensively striking. He relies on that durability. He relies on that grappling, and he eats shots early. So if this fight gets extended, it's a live bet on Dustin Stoltzfus. If it gets to round 2 and Nursulton Ruziboev has been figured out and Dustin somehow learned how to move his head in the pocket a little bit, like, we can live bet my boy Dustin Stoltzfus at that point. But I got to see it to believe it. Unfortunately, the UFC knows exactly what they're doing here. Ruziboev is staying at 185 pounds now, it seems, and he will catch Dustin in that first round with that right hand. Every other guy he's fought so far, Buckley, Dumas, I'm like, he's not going to catch those guys with that big right hand early. It's not going to happen. And sure enough, he didn't. Cedric Dumas, to this day, it was the damn eye poke that put him out, not the actual right hand behind it. Buckley made this guy look like an amateur. Dustin's not going to do that. Dustin will eat that right hand for breakfast. So it's going to be a Ruziboev round 1 KO, unfortunately. I know you guys want me to come here and look like a fool and tell you that Dustin's going to win this fight, but I'm smarter than that. It ain't happening. Ruziboev round 1.
Yeah, Dustin's only chance, he's got to take the Buckley approach. He's got to try to wrestle him. I do think also Ruziboev's, I'm just calling him that because I find that pretty funny. Ruziboev's, I think his gas bag tendencies are not quite as bad at 185. I think cutting this is another guy that fought on the Seattle card that, I went into the elevator with him a bunch. It was funny. The first time I went into the elevator with this guy, he walks in with his coaches, and my coach goes, "Hey, what's up, guys? How are you?" And I'm like, "Brother, look at them. Do they look like they know what, hey, what's up, guys? How are you means?" And they all literally just looked at my coach and then got in the elevator, got in and faced forward. Like, they all just looked right at him and they got in the elevator. It's like, dude, what are you doing? But, Stoltzfus, he's got to get Ruziboev down. He's got to hold him down over the course of, 3 rounds. That sounds difficult because it is probably a Ruziboev round 1 KO. And like you said, the UFC does like him. They are trying to build him up. He has the country behind him. He's got Uzbekistan behind him. You know what I mean? And that's actually a country that has a pretty solid, underrated combat sports over there. You know what I mean? It ends in stand. You know what I mean? A country that ends in stand, the fighters are probably going to be decent. Ruziboev probably knocks this guy out in round 1. I would love for Stoltzfus to get him down and make it interesting. It would be pretty funny, but I just don't see it happening. You know what I mean? Especially because Nursulton's at 185. He probably isn't just gonna die in 5 minutes. And I mean, hey, he was able to get the round 2 KO in Seattle. albeit it was 30 seconds into round 2. He did get a.
I still count that as round
2
1.
KO.
Between you and me, Julius, I'm like 30 seconds in. Nah, man, that's still round 1.
And McConaughey just didn't try to punch him. He went out there in that fight and he didn't even. I don't know. I don't remember. Did you take McConaughey? McConaughey didn't even try to punch him, man.
I was the voice of reason that week. McConaughey was everybody's favorite dog that week, and I was like, guys, what are you doing? Like, he doesn't stand a chance here. I couldn't understand the McConaughey love that week.
He didn't throw any punches that fight. I think people liked it. He's friends with Jared. McConaughey was a really nice guy, though. You know, he's with the same management team as me, and I'm very happy that he got the shot in the UFC. But he did have a tall order, and he was not up to the task. That shouldn't really offend anybody. But Ruziboev is probably knocking Stoltzfus out in round 1.
Unfortunately, I think that is the way. I think that's what happens. And Streamline Gaming in the chat saying, bro, when are you gonna stop hating on him? Dude is legit. Never Streamline Gaming. He'll always be Ruziboev to me. You just wait. This guy is gonna get a soft Patty Pimblett-esque path up to the contenders circle. He'll be in the top 10, and then we're gonna fade the shit out of him. He's gonna be like even money against the wrong guy. It's gonna be like Buckley all over again. I told you guys to lay the house on Joaquin Buckley when they fought, and what happened? Like when he gets to a certain level, he just ain't that guy. If you can figure out how to avoid Julius, here's the thing. If they study the tape, he doesn't have another weapon. If you figure out that right hand, and even Cedric Dumas, his criminal bum ass getting locked up again, hiding in dog crates, he figured out that if you just avoid that right hand, there's nothing else coming behind it. So you can start to wear the guy down. You drag him into round 2. He's less confident in his hand. He starts fishing for Kimuras off his back. He'll go to the ground because he's worried about not being able to land on the feet anymore. Like, he's just a guy that can be had. He's a guy that can be figured out. You got to stay safe in round 1. Keep your eyes peeled for that right hand, and you can win the fight. That's it. If you got a double leg on you, it's that much easier. So shout out Joaquin Buckley for a big ticket that night. But unfortunately, I'm going to have to go against my boy Dustin. Dustin's too slow. That's my big thing. Dustin's probably too slow. But it wouldn't shock me. I am the captain of the Ruziboev train, so it would not shock me if Ruziboev just isn't good enough at 185. And if Dustin's able to hit a takedown on him or something like that, maybe it gets greasy. We'll see. I'll believe it when I see it. Unfortunately, I think he's going to go to sleep, though. All right, guys. Last couple fights here. We've got Sodiq Yusuff and Mairon Santos. Super Sodiq taking on the legend himself. Julius, this fight's crazy, man. I love Sodiq. He is a great Twitter follow, by the way. Shout out Sodiq Yusuff. The dude is unintentionally hilarious. And he's very well-rounded. You know, he's one of these guys that belongs in the UFC, belongs near the top, but also kind of low-key chinny, so not going to be a title holder necessarily. He's 31 years old. He's pretty quick on the feet. He is 2-2 in his last 4 fights. Got just mauled by Diego Lopez, and we haven't seen him in about a year since that round 1 ass beating, but he fought exceptionally well against Edson Barboza the fight just before that. Didn't do enough to get the win, unfortunately, but he fought well, and he survived to go the entire 15 minutes. But again, that's where kind of what I'm saying. Arnold Allen, Edson Barboza, Diego Lopez, like when he fights guys of that level, that's where he's coming up short. So Sodiq Yusuff, maybe settling into a little bit of a gatekeeper role at this point. Mairon Santos is 24 years old, fights out of Extreme Couture, coming off the split decision against Francis Marshall that lit Twitter on fire. Julius, so many people, and Francis Marshall was the most popular bet that week. Everybody had Francis Marshall that week, and everybody was screaming robbery. That fight was so close and greasy. Unfortunately, for God knows what reason, the UFC 313 prelims are blacked out on like ESPN Plus and on. I'm pissed because as a guy that does tape study, I need to rewatch that fight, but it's blacked out. I'm like, why? We all bought the pay-per-view. I can watch the main card. Why are you blacking out the prelims? Like, they're not on Fight Pass. They're not on ESPN. I pay for those services, bro. Let me watch the prelims of UFC 313. I don't understand. Anyway.
I was in the arena that night for, I went to UFC 313 for Santos versus Marshall, and that fight wasn't even super close. Marshall probably won all 3 rounds. Not super duper comfortably, but like, they were all pretty clear martial rounds in my opinion. Santos did not look good in that fight.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And Julius, he's getting a step up in competition here. That's kind of the crazy thing to me here, is that he is going off of essentially a robbery victory, and he's getting a step up, and he's favored over Sodiq Yusuff. Minus 135 over Super Sodiq Yusuff. This one's a dog or pass for me, man. I mean, Sodiq he's not going to come out and wrestle the way a Francis Marshall did, but he's a much better striker. I do worry about the chin. You know, this guy, Mairon Santos, can crack. And at 24 years old, at a place like Extreme Couture, they teach you how to be violent over there. I do think there's a chance he wins this fight by knockout. But I can't be playing minus 135 on a kid that should have lost to Francis Marshall in this spot.
No, and furthermore, Sodiq was planning after the Diego fight. Sodiq said, "Yeah, no way." Sodiq said, "Iceland farts are the man." Sodiq said after the Diego fight he was moving up to 55. So this fight's at 55. Sodiq has planned out this move to 55. So he was prepared and ready to move to 55. And if you look at when this fight got announced, it was not more than a few weeks ago. Santos, there's no way that Santos is moving to 55. He must just be taking this fight just because they wanted to add it onto a card. If Santos, maybe he is moving up to 55, but I just really don't think he is.
I didn't even realize this fight was at 155. That's so, because both guys are 145ers, so I didn't even catch that. And I didn't catch that little tidbit in the interview either. That's crazy.
So yes, Sodiq said he's going up to 55. So he planned this move out. Santos didn't. So Sodiq is the bigger guy. If you look at the competition he has fought versus who Santos has been fighting, it's not even sort of comparable. And Francis Marshall beat Mairon everywhere. Like I vividly remember I was on the floor at UFC 313. Like I was there. And Francis outstruck him. He dropped him. He took him down almost every round. Mairon Santos did.
It's crazy to get dropped by Francis Marshall.
Right? So it's like, dude, what happens if Super Sodiq hits you with that Nigerian power? You are going down. I don't see how on earth Sodiq is plus money. That is absurd to me. That's 100% who I would take in that fight.
Yeah, it's dog or pass to me, man. I want to watch these guys weigh in. I want to see them face off. Like, I need to see what they look like at 155 pounds here for this spot. So it is tentatively dog or pass for me here from a betting perspective. Right now, it's just going to be a pass, but we'll see what happens throughout the rest of the week. We might have to move. Shout out my guy, Free UFC Bet Picks, one of the guests here on the show from time to time with the Fire Juice Box. What's going on, buddy? All right, guys. We're almost done. We got 2 more fights to talk about here. Paul the Bear Jew Craig still doing the damn thing, taking on Rodolfo Bellato, the traitor, which, not traitor is in like
Trader Joe's.
Yeah, traitor, which that's got to mean something in Brazil. What does that mean in Brazil? Because it's not.
I'm convinced, man. I think he just isn't a good speller, and he loves Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's is amazing. You know what I mean? True. They've got these incredible gluten-free cakes. My wife would love this part of the podcast if she heard me giving Trader Joe's a shout out, baby.
Trader Joe's does a little bit of everything, man. You gotta love it. All right,
Haymaker, by the way, I will knock my next fight out for sure.
Oh,
there you go.
It's
free money.
Haymaker. Money. All right, there you got the fight prediction for Haymaker in the chat right there. You guys heard it here first. Oh, you know what? Okay, it's a typo. That's what I thought, Peter Cake. It's tractor, and for some reason they've got the C out of there on Tapology. Tapology, get your shit together. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. So he's the tractor. Oh man. What are we doing here? Okay, so Paul Craig was supposed to retire 3 years ago. He's one of those guys that set like the hard deadline for his age that he was going to hang him up. And like every other MMA retirement there's ever been, of course, he just blew right on through that number and he's still fighting. He's 17-9-1. Now he's an old ass wily veteran of the sport, 37 years old. The game is out for Paul Craig, man. He's got that nuclear BJJ option. You've got to play the floor as lava with this guy. If you go to the mat with
Mhm.
Paul Craig, he hasn't really worked on his striking. He's worked on his ground and pound, right? Like he can TKO you on the mat. He still sucks ass on the feet. But you know, he's just deadly in one area of the game. If you stay standing, he's got nothing. Rodolfo Bellato, 12-2-1. He's 29 years old, and I can't figure this guy the fuck out. So he's coming off Dana White's Contender Series. He gets Tecia, a guy who should not be fighting at 205 pounds, a guy who probably shouldn't be fighting in the UFC, and Ihor lit him up like he was out on his feet. Every single fight this guy's been in under the UFC banner so far, Julius, I'm convinced he's gone out in the middle of the fight and then like caught a second wind to come his way back in. He went to a draw with Jimmy Crute, which the king of draws, Jimmy the Brute Crute, he goes to a draw with freaking everybody for some reason. Bellato took unreal damage in that fight. Range and timing all off on the feet. Apparently he's a decent grappler and a decent BJJ guy, but he's a meathead. He's big, he's thick, he's a real 205er, but he relies on getting caught, you getting tired, and then him taking over. Now, Paul Craig is a guy you can catch. So Bellato is going to have a speed advantage here. He's going to have a ridiculous speed advantage. And Paul Craig is dumb enough to stand on the feet with this guy. He really is. But if this fight hits the ground, Paul Craig can TKO this guy to hell. And he's never coming back. You're not going to catch that second wind if Paul Craig gets on top of you. I think there's a very real possibility that Paul Craig is the parlay buster this week and is the guy that upsets the apple cart. He's plus 380 right now, minus 500 for Rodolfo Bellato. And this guy shouldn't be 500 against anybody in the UFC, much less a guy as dangerous as Paul Craig. So give me violence, man. The fight doesn't go the distance, is going to be like a 10-1. It's going to be a ridiculous price tag because this fight probably doesn't get out of the second round in any capacity. But I like an under here. I like violence in this fight, and I kind of like Paul Craig to upset Rodolfo Bellato. Am I crazy?
So I'm actually, dude. My first question in my notes was, can Paul work his black magic? Can he pull off some crazy triangle, some really nice submission here? My only issue is, how does he get Rodolfo to the ground? Paul Craig is amazing at jiu-jitsu, but his wrestling is so unbelievably bad, it's not even funny. That's why he's had so many of these weird fights where he shoots in and tries to pull guard. He's just an awful wrestler. He really, really is. I honestly think I think the sneaky thing that might happen, I think this is one of those fights that could end up like me and Alonzo, where everybody's like, there's no way this goes the distance. And then both guys just do weird, wonky stuff. The fight ends up being weird and wonky. It's awkward and it's weird. And you look up and the time is ticking down on round 3 and we're like, how the hell did this make it here? That's what I see this fight happening. And I see Bellato scraping by with, winning the striking and with his goofy, ugly, weird exchanges. I think this is just going to be a weird fight that somehow makes it through 3 rounds. Because I don't think Craig's going to sub him. I don't think Craig's going to pull off the submission. I think that it's going to end up being clunky through 3 rounds with Bellato eking out a decision.
Oh my God, it's going to be the worst fight of all time if these guys make it the full 15 minutes. Oh, that's going to be rough for us to watch, man. Okay, I can at least respect it. I can respect it. I am hoping. What I think is going to happen is Bellato is going to land on Craig, knock him down, and then make the mistake of following him. I think he's going to be dumb enough to follow Paul Craig to the ground, and then he'll get like reversed and back mounted and pounded out or something like that. That's what I think is going to happen.
I can't wait.
Oh man, it's like, I own Kutalaba fights and Paul Craig fights. Like you've got to watch. They're pure cinema.
No, I love that I fight in the most comical division of the UFC because we're all big dudes and we're all like sort of athletic. You know what I mean? But honestly, like, let's be real. If we were more athletic, we'd be in the NFL. And it's so much goofiness, dude. There are so many goofy fighters at 205, myself included, and I love it.
Dude, 205 was my favorite division. It's what got me into UFC. back when like Forrest Griffin was on the Ultimate Fighter and stuff like that. Like that weight class in its heyday was what got me started. So 205's always had a special place in my heart. And yeah, it's because, you know, heavyweight, all those guys are such brutes. You don't need to be good at MMA. Like if you've got a double leg or you hit hard, you can be in the UFC because you're a freak of nature at 265 pounds. But at 205, it's like you gotta have a little bit of athleticism and you gotta have a little bit of skill, because otherwise one of these guys is gonna get you. That it's that weird blend of like chaos and technique that there's something special about 205. I love this weight class.
Oh, it's wonderful.
All right, man. Main event time, everybody. Let's go. Gilbert Durinho Burns takes on Michael Morales. And you guys know I've been all over the Burns train. Gilbert Burns, one of my favorite fighters. I love this guy. Good attitude. Seems like a real fun guy. BJJ black belt. Learned how to wrestle from Kamaru Usman and then went full traitor on him, trying to take the belt from him when he got his opportunity. He's 38 years old now, and unfortunately, he's fallen on hard times. Lost a decision to Bilal, got knocked out by Jack Della, lost a decision to Brady. I mean, now we're kind of getting to the end of the road here. And if you do your stalking and you notice this guy online, Gil's in the best shape of his life right now, man. And unfortunately, Julius, that is the last nail in the coffin for these guys. Because when these aging veteran fighters are on their skid, and they're real, like they don't understand it. It's not working out. What they used to do just ain't quite cutting it anymore. The takedowns aren't coming easy anymore. The gas tank is drying up. The durability's fading away. Like, what am I doing wrong? The one thing they can control is their abs. It's like, I'm going to get in the best fucking shape of my life. I'm going to show you people I still got it. That's the death knell. Holly Holm just pulled this shit. Like, unfortunately, in MMA, Father Time is undefeated. And that's what happens. You see that one last gasp for these people. They try as hard as they can. They get in the best shape of their life, and the UFC gives them the hardest match possible, and it just does not matter. And I think that's what's going to happen here. Michael Morales could be a 2025 victim because he is 17 and this kid is undefeated, and he's just 25 years old. So going up against a title challenger experience level fighter, going up against a literal world-class Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, I mean, this could be the spot where Michael Morales gets that veteran lesson. This could be to quote my guy Dan Levy in the chat, this could be the spot where he gets that, hey, you probably should have thought of this. You know, hey, you're not quite ready yet, kid. Take a little more seasoning. This might be it. This legitimately might be that spot. However, I love the way this kid strikes. He is so clean on the feet. He's so smooth, and he's fast, and he hits freaking hard. I know Neil Magny is cooked, you guys. Like, we all know Neil Magny's durability is gone and out the window. So Gilbert Burns is not going to fall over the way that Neil Magny did. However, you know, seeing what we saw against Jack Della, when you're 40 years old and you got knocked out after a war in your last fight, like, that durability sometimes takes a bit of a hit. And Sean Brady is not a threat when it comes to damage, striking, any of that stuff. So he got a freebie in that fight when it came to his chin. I could see Michael Morales being the last nail in the coffin for the chin of Gilbert Burns. He's a guy that's always been a little chinny. Frankly, the Khamzat Chimaev fight, I have no idea how that went 15 minutes. I swear I played Khamzat by knockout because I was like, I know he's going to hit Durinho and it's going to just be too much for him at some point. I kind of think the same thing is going to happen here. But again, the price tag, man, 8-1, 8-1. This is dog or pass, bro. I mean, I think it could be a violence bet. I actually think this one is another one, especially being a 5-round main eventer, that we probably look for this fight to go under because, again, Gilbert does have power in his hands. He does have an evolved striking skill set. He does have wrestling. He does have that world-class jiu-jitsu that Morales may not be ready to defend against. So Burns could finish this fight. But I also think Burns gets knocked out. So I'm probably betting the under. I just can't get to 8-1 in the favorite spot here.
Yeah, it is a hugely massive line. I will say after this past Saturday, I think that Gilbert versus Jack Della is at least slightly more interesting in hindsight. The way that fight went with Gilbert for sure, at least taking one of those rounds off of him. I think there's a narrative that Gilbert was like really winning that fight before Jack Della got the finish. And I don't know if that's fully true, but it was a very
He was up 2
fight.
rounds to 0. And I'm the one pushing that narrative. That's me. So he, per the judges' scorecards, he literally was up 2-0. So I mean,
exactly.
I know.
So he was on his way to changing the course of history. If so like I do think that there is still some dog left in Gilbert. And dude, if you look at Michael Morales, like his best win is Neil Magny. He's got some wins and he's got some solid wins in the UFC, but he hasn't beaten anybody that's currently in the rankings. Gilbert, but man, it's so tough to think a 38-year-old man is going to defeat a 25-year-old man at 170 pounds, especially when that 38-year-old man's on a 3-fight losing streak. So God, it is just really tough for me. I do think it'll be interesting if this fight ekes past like rounds 1 and 2. What's Morales' cardio going to look like? And if Gilbert does score a takedown, is he ready for this kind of fight? Because Gilbert's been in these kind of fights. Is he ready for this kind of fight? And does Gilbert have another war left in him? I think that is the question here. And I feel like I saw somebody say in the chat that the line's going to get so wide. Yeah, he said Burns' price going to get so big, we're all going to lose a little money, trying to sprinkle it. If I was eligible to lose money sprinkling it, I think I would probably be in that crew, because something in me just really wants to be like, hey, Gilbert's going to get it done. But I seriously think it's my heart, not my head.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I would love for Gilbert to get back on track. It's been painful seeing all these old legends, This is how this game goes. You know what I mean? So hey, sorry, Gilbert.
I feel bad too, man. I'm right there with you. Unfortunately, I just don't think this is the one. I think he's going to end up being another target on another resume, and they're going to go ahead and get him out of there and get that notable win here on Morales. But the 2025 narrative is the one thing that, like, I clicked on Ivan Ersland last week, and he was this close that, like, one last ride with the old dog. I don't know. We'll see where this number goes. We'll see how wide it gets. Yeah, Darren saying he's already clicked on plus 600. Like, I get it. I really get it, you guys. I am saying I'm picking Michael Morales to win this fight. But again, guys, talking betting, people, Julius, this drives people nuts. I'm picking this guy to win the fight, but I'm saying you can't bet him. And people are like, what? That doesn't make any sense. And like, just let me give you an example here. I think Denise Gomes and Michael Morales are both going to win this fight, right? But it's a minus 535 and a minus 800. That gives you minus 300. So like, you're still having to chalk up 3-1 for a 2-leg parlay.
Yeah,
that you can't do that profitably. Like, one of those legs is going to blow your parlay too many times for that to end up long-term paying out. It's just not smart. So yeah, I'm not going to be touching minus 800 with a 25-year-old kid fighting a legend. That's the type of spot that I'm avoiding. So dog or pass betting wise, but yeah, I do think Michael probably is the one that gets it done. Guys, that is UFC Vegas 106. My guy, Juicebox, joining us to talk about every single fight on this card. Julius, thank you so much for being here with us today, man. This has been really freaking cool to just kind of hang out, chill with you, talk fights, and have a little bit of a back and forth. We very much enjoyed it, and we very much appreciate your time. The floor is yours. If you want to shout anything out, if you've got sponsors, if you got stuff coming up, if you just want to let people know, the socials or where they can find you to support you, like whatever you want, man. Right now is the moment. The floor is yours.
I appreciate you so much. Shout out to you for having me on. Anytime I get an opportunity to come in front of MMA fans and let the MMA fans get to know me at least a little bit more as a person, I think that's a huge opportunity. More fighters need to be jumping on this kind of stuff. And even to the other fighters out there, if you're going to go do a gambling podcast, just hop on Tapology and spend an hour or two looking at all the fighters, so you can have something to say. It's really not that hard, but just give it a shot. Let people get to know you a little bit more. Be smart, do that. Shout out to my beautiful wife, Paige Walker. Shout out to my 2 daughters, Rainey and Josie. They're the best. We're fighting August 9th. I'm knocking out Rafael Sequeira at the Apex. It's going to be sick. It's going to be awesome. Watch it. Lay the house on me. Just go for it. You know what I mean? We're going to take this guy out. Maybe we'll call out Navajo. Who knows?
Generational wealth opportunity. Oh shit! Call out Navo.
Dude, maybe I'm gonna call out Izzy's boy that looks oddly like Izzy. But hey, you know what I mean? I'm super excited, super blessed, super honored, and I really appreciate you, man.
Appreciate the hell out of you, man. This has been really, really fun. Everybody, you know the drill. We've got the total takedown, and we've got Clint's hot props coming up later on in the week, and of course, the Friday undefeated post-weigh-in show. This has been a really cool thing. So, Julius, you've got a fan always in me, and I think we've made some fans here in the chat as well. So maybe we'll have to look at doing something again down the line. We'd love to have you back and do a follow-up or have you back on for another card sometime if you'd be open to it. That'd be really cool.
I would love it.
Love it. All right, man. Well, appreciate the hell out of you again. Thank you all very much. Do me a favor, hit the like button on your way out the door and leave me in the comments if you have any questions, if you have a favorite pick or a favorite prop. Always, of course, jump in after the show. Let me know those down in the comment section below, you guys. That'll do it for UFC Vegas 105. Thank you again. And as always, let's roll.
Yeah. Yeah, 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 yeah. Niggas be up on the block, looking for trouble, you can get popped. If you was looking wealthy, just let a sign, you can get stopped. I seen them running them pockets, they is not chatting, they when I stop. I call that stop and shop, I seen niggas get popped and drop. Niggas be up on the block, looking for trouble, you can get popped. If you was looking wealthy, just let a sign, you can get stopped. I seen them running them pockets, they is not chatting, they when I stop. I call that stop and shop, I seen niggas get popped and drop. Walk in the street like a dope kid, look like a Hollywood movie wrote this. Might just ride and think about some shit, hit a quick lick and run on some dumb shit. I be getting hard by danger, hit a quick lick then masturbate later. Girls be hot and dumb for reasons they think hood shit fun. It be the danger, it be my post rising, knowing that I could get caught. But I be the boss and it be the thought of all of the cash a nigga just got broken. Head crack it and it's open, steal all your money right up in one motion. Just go right with a flow like ocean. This not a game but we out for tokens. Niggas be up on the block looking for trouble, you could get popped. If you was looking wealthy, just let a sign, you could get stopped. I seen them running them pockets, they not chatting, they when I stop. I call that stop and shop, I seen niggas get popped and drop. Niggas be up on the block, looking for trouble, you could get popped. If you was looking wealthy, just let a sign, you could get stopped. I seen them running them pockets, they not chatting, they on time. Stop. I call that stop and shop, I seen niggas get popped and drop. Check it, or zealot, cash it, don't app it. Nah, I'm trying to get all this money, my nigga, yo, I be an addict. I'm trying to run me some elbows and I don't care if it costs static. This ain't no play, this ain't no theater shit, don't be dramatic. I like to think about things like why do we steal? Shit, why? I be in some robber and shit, like see how you feel. Yo, see how you feel, bitch. When all of a sudden like make you fucking go broke, you be gon' broke. You could be down and niggas will just fucking joke. They just gonna joke until you get all the cash. Then they your biggest fans. Hey, Outcast, can I give like 100? Shut the fuck up, bitch.